Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 341st edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining us on the call so far we have Andy Patterson and Ozzy Smith. A bit of a weekend off by all accounts. It was scant pickings in the boxing world, headed up by Peter Quillin and Alfredo Angulo. More on that shortly. Next week has more of a buzz about it anyway. Daniel Dubois stepping up in class to prison canteen level as we find out if Ebenezer really is any good. Spence Porter as well, that looks quite tasty. So does the undercard. PBC, Fox, Avanesian rematches with Le Haraga over in Spain. We've got a Prince Patel update for you, Belly of the Week's questions and much more, so stick with us. Remember everybody, you can listen to the show on mixler.com/Boxing Asylum live on the Sunday evening. The pod goes up on the Patreon feed about an hour or so after the show finishes, and it's on Facebook, YouTube and iTunes sometime on Monday. Bitchute and Tumblr as well, if you frequent any of those places. Don't know if you do, you might get over there. There's not much going on Bitchute at the moment. Tumblr seems quite interesting, that's where the blog, the RSS feed used to be located. It's on SoundCloud now as well, so you can go and listen on SoundCloud if that's what takes your fancy. Enough of all that stuff, let's get on to the show from the weekend. Aussie, California, Saturday the 21st of September. Peter Quillin losing a split decision to Alfredo Angulo, scores of 96-94, 94-96 and 97-93. The final two cards in Angulo's favour. We were talking off air there about Quillin. He looked absolutely terrible. His legs were gone. Probably he should retire. Saying that, it was a good entertaining fight. Sometimes whenever these guys lose half a yard, I hadn't expected Quillin to have fallen this far by the way, but they're standing in front of each other for longer periods, Oz, and letting the shots go, and it was quite fun at times.
Yeah, I thought Angulo was landing at will at times, to be honest, and he clearly had no respect for Quillin's power. He was just walking through his shots, and I thought the two cards were well worthy of scoring the bout to Angulo, because he was a thoroughly deserved winner. I mean, Quillin, he just looked shot to bits. Just like no legs, just looked completely gone from round one. Like I said, don't think Angulo was really, really hurting him. But I think you could tell that Quillin knew that he was taking a shot. So it was one of those that, not a real, like huge big puncher, Golovkin type thing, but he's thinking it had enough in them to think that I can't keep taking these. And yeah, a real strange one. And I mean, I think it's fair to say when we saw the fight made, it was quite laughable. We were thinking like, why is Angulo still going? Yeah. And things like that. But fair play to him. He was a worthy winner. As for Peter Quillin, I thought they were going to look to rematch him against Caleb Truax. That saying, I don't think Truax will be absolutely no interest in that fight whatsoever after that. I think it was a headbutt. That was a bad cut last time. I think he should hang up the gloves for good. He's clearly he's definitely not what he once was. And if you're getting beaten up and bashed around by Alfredo Angulo, then I certainly feel it's time to call it quits.
Yeah, they were supposed to rematch this time, but Truax tore something, and there was a bicep or he got injured.
Is that what it was? Is that what it was? I missed that actually. I didn't realise that Truax pulled out for an injury.
I thought off the top of my head that he'd maybe torn a bicep or something, but it could have been a cut. But either way, it was in and around mid to late August. Truax decided that he wasn't able to take place. They brought Angulo in. I felt like everybody else that Angulo was going to be prime pickings for Quillin. But, losing so brutally, Andy, to Jacobs must have taken away Quillin's confidence as well. His bubble seems to have just dramatically burst. He hasn't got that confidence anymore of the unbeaten puncher that he was perceived to be by some. And going in against someone like Angulo, if you're losing to a guy like that, as Prince Nazim says, Andy, I think he should finish.
Yep, I've never been on the fake chocolate train. Okay, he got himself into title contentions at some points in that as well. But you say getting iced off Danny Jacobs one round and that, and then after that it's just been a semi-retired career. That's all it is. Any interview I've actually heard of Peter Quillin, it's all about the business, it's all about the brand, and he's like basically one of PBC's great lackeys, so to speak. He's well into Heyman's pocket, and he just do what he's got to do. He's not in it for any real, I don't think, other than just a paycheck. And he's talking about like his team's going to go back and think about what to do. Well, I think, as you guys quite rightly say, it's time for him to retire. You get beat off Alfredo Angulo at this point in your career, who, let's be honest, what is Angulo now? He must be pushing 40. he spent all that time in detention. He's come back out. He's lost to Sergio Moura. I think he even lost to Ferdinand Hernandez and guys like that, ilk and stuff. And you look, as Ozzy says, we've maybe spoke about it last week, and that I can't remember if I did actually or anything like that, but I didn't give it much thought. And he's come in there, he's done the business. It's I suppose at this point, that type of fight, I did read it was quite exciting and stuff like that. But it's got to be two guys on kind of similar levels at this point, isn't it? Two fairy vets, and they've put on a decent show for the fans, really, and that's it. And it's been a kind of shock win for Angulo, who let's not beat about the bush and that. Let's hope he doesn't get overmatched in his next fight, and that's just going to set up his cannon fodder, isn't he?
Evening to Gabe. Gabe's on the call with us now as well. Peter Quillin, 36 years of age, only a year younger than Angulo, who's 37. What about the change in trainer? Who would have thought that Angulo would have been the puncher? But he fought to his strengths, Gabe. He came forward, saw that Quillin was there for the taking, saw that there was right pickings available, and he threw the shots. If he was maybe still with Virgil Hunter, he could have stood off and tried to box him a little bit, but they've obviously said, look, he might as well get out there and get stuck in, and that's exactly what he did, and he was a worthy winner for me. How did you score it, Gabe?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I had to cough real quick. I had scored it by 2 rounds for Angulo. I felt it was a fairly close fight in some ways. If you preferred what Quillin was doing in certain parts of the rounds, or if you preferred really what Angulo was doing. And so I really felt like as each round progressed, Quillin would start off a little bit quicker, but he didn't look to have the stamina to just keep on backing away. And then, in certain rounds, he did quite a bit of running. That made it kind of easy to score. And whenever I say that, I mean, I was really watching him, and it wasn't about throwing punches and keeping his guy off of him and creating a distance. It was about, fuck, how can I get away from this guy? He keeps on coming forward. I mean, I was really impressed with Angulo last night. Whenever he was with Virgil Hunter a couple years back, I mean, he was fucking terrible. I mean, the guy was just awful. It wasn't a matter of, I don't think, anything besides just having a terrible training with Virgil Hunter. I just think that was a bad pair-up. But he looked so slow. I mean, he looked like he was not even trying to throw punches when he was with Hunter, or that he was thinking too much and trying to, plan what he was doing. And that's not Angulo. Angulo's always been at his best when he's coming forward, eating some shots to give some shots. And last night, I think the reason Quillin couldn't box off the back foot for a whole round was because when Angulo got in there, he was throwing punches to the body and he was banging him around. Quillin, I think, I forget which round it was, looked like he got concussed, and from that point never really recovered. I mean, if he ever got hit really good again, he was wobbled all over again, and it just kind of happened that way throughout the fight. I was not impressed with Quillin. I mean, you could see that he had the potential skills to do what he needed to do, which would be to box, maintain a little bit more range, and fight off the back foot. But I don't think he was trained well. I mean, I think he was tired. He couldn't maintain discipline to keep Angulo off. Like Andy said, I don't even think Chocolate's in it anymore for Quillin. That is even in it anymore for any kind of glory, or to be great, or to challenge himself, or to see how far he can go. I think he is just in it for the paycheck. I mean, he's had 4 fights in 4 years. I mean, I struggled to remember the last time that I saw him. The last fight that I really remember was Andy Lee. So, I mean, overall, I think it was, to me, you saw shades of the old Alfredo Angulo, and I kind of don't want to see him again. To be honest with you guys, to be honest with the fans out there listening, I really don't want to see him again, because I don't think he's capable of competing that way in every match. Even though he came through against Quillin, and we know Quillin's got some power and some muster on some of his punches, I just feel like if he doesn't stop before too long, he's going to be put in a bad position for later on in life. I don't think he's going to stand up well. Of course, I could be wrong. I mean, we see guys, that have taken thousands and thousands and thousands of punches and they never have a problem. And then other guys, get knocked out one time and they're slurring. So, I don't know. I thought it was a really good fight. I thought it was a really entertaining fight. Close enough to keep it interesting, but I felt like I was pretty clear that Angulo won because of the way that he just couldn't be deterred from continually coming forward. I was really impressed.
Yeah, he's had a funny career, Quillin. I don't really know where I stand on him. I remember he first came onto my radar in 2011 when he fought Craig McEwen, who had based himself over on the West Coast with Freddie Roach. McEwen had one loss before that against Andy Lee, and I remember he'd been beating Lee right up until about the last round. I think it was the 10th round, and then Lee knocked him out. So Quillin got rid of him in the 6th. Then he beat Winky Wright, who was a savvy veteran but faded by this point. That was a decent win over 10 rounds on Quillin's record, but obviously there was some shenanigans going in and around that fight. Then he beat Ndam, took his unbeaten record, 27-0, Ndam was. He was like the jack in the box that night, went down, got back up again about 6 times. Another good win for Quillin. I rated Fernando Guerrero. Don't know why now in hindsight, he wasn't really that good, but Quillin knocked him out in the 7th round in the Barclays Centre in Brooklyn. Then he got a win over Gabe Rosado, Lucas Konechny, and then his big fight on a larger scale was against, in fact, Lee. Managed to drop him as well, didn't he? Won on a split. No, it was a split draw in the end, wasn't it, with Lee? That's right, 2015. Beat Michael Zarafa, who was shite, and then he fought Jacobs. Looking at that career dissection, Andy, where do you stand on Quillin? I know you said before you're not really sure. He's got a few decent names. I'm not obviously talking about Hall of Fame or anything, but just looking at his resume overall, he has got some good wins. I think taking Ndam's unbeaten record, knocking out Guerrero, who only had one loss at the time, drawing with Lee. If he'd have maybe beaten Lee, it could have pushed him up into that next bracket. He's a bit of a Neely man for someone who held a title.
Well, see, to be honest, I remember the Ndam fight quite clearly. Knew you mentioned it actually because we spoke about it in the podcast even back at that time. If it hadn't been for the knockdowns in that fight, Ndam would have won it on points. It was simple as that. And so the deficiencies were even there. I think I just pulled up the scorecards, 115 to 107. Says its own story, doesn't it? Ndam's done 6 times in that fight. Says it all. If you just, it's one of them careers, med careers. Winky Wright. Come on, man. This is the Winky Wright fight where the drug samples went missing for. Remember? Mm-hmm. Fernando Guerrero, who I think was a 154 fighter at his prime. Gabe Rosado, the gatekeeper. Come on. Konechny, we've seen him kind of passing about that as well. Andy Lee was a decent fight. Lee down as well, I suppose. Zarafa. No.
I tell you what, though, in that Lee fight, I think it was the knockdown in the 3rd was actually caused by a headbutt in the end, and that was missed. I'm sure.
He also must wait for that fight.
He did, yeah. But I'm sure that the 2nd knockdown was caused by a headbutt, which dropped Lee, and then was wrongly called. And had that have just been scored, I think he would have lost the fight. Because it was he would have lost the fight on that, and it was wrongfully a knockdown that was called. So he's rolled throughout his career, I think.
He's done well financially, I suppose all the Heyman fighters have and stuff like that. But at the end of the day as well, it's just like everything else. You want to pull up all the Heyman fighters' records, rather than I know it's all been kept in house and stuff like that. But the resumes aren't great, aren't fantastic. Put it this way, people still at this day, look at Spence's resume and still shit on it and stuff, and we still need to see that Crawford fight. It's not any closer to happening either.
Yeah, I was going to say there, boys. Highguard Plodder made a good point. Quillin chucked the belt, didn't he, to not face Matvey Korobov? Gave up $1.5 million. I think Heyman had made.
That's right, aye, because Lee won the vacant title off him, aye.
Yeah,
that's right, because Lee won the vacant title, aye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they fought, and obviously the WBO wasn't on the line and whatnot. But yeah, Korobov, he was seen as a decent fighter back then. He's still a decent fighter now. I thought he had a good fight against one of the Charlos there, but that's right, Highguard Plodder, well remembered. Anything off the undercard, Gabe? Did you see anything off this undercard on the PBC? I watched Thomas Delorme against Terrell Williams. Terrell Williams was 18-0 going in, but I could tell from about the 2nd or 3rd round as Delorme was hammering away at the body that Williams, even if he got through this fight, he wasn't going to really do anything in the upper echelons of the welterweight division. He had a nice, nifty jab. Whenever he kept it long, the left jab, right hand, he looked okay, but he was letting Delorme get in. And Delorme, even though he's had 26 fights, he had lost 3, drawn 1, he showed that experience, that fighting experience. Bad cut as well. Dropped Williams in the last round. He kept on squaring himself up, Williams. I thought he was quite amateurish at times. Got caught with the left hand, went down, and he was gutted at the end. Didn't even raise his arms, didn't try to fool anybody. He knew he'd lost the fight. Showed a lot of class, I thought, grabbing Delorme's arm and making it known to everybody that the right man had won the fight. Putting that one to one side as well, Chris Colbert, 12-0, going up to 13-0 with a first round knockout of Miguel Beltran Jr. A few other fights of interest, Gabe. Anything off that undercard, particularly Delorme against Williams?
Yeah, I thought Delorme looked pretty good. He's you kind of know what you're getting with Thomas Delorme. You got a guy that can typically put in a decent performance at the very worst. You've had a couple of performances from him that haven't been so great. A guy that's a little bit vulnerable, a guy that has a lot of quickness. I always felt like his power is a little bit lacking, and more of his power comes from just the fact that he, in my opinion, tends to really throw punches with a fierceness and an attempt to have bad results for his opponent. He's been around for a while. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked sharp. Same as you, I was thinking about the second round. I was like, well, it looks like that he's going to take the fight. I just felt like it was pretty evident early on. And pardon me, I'm sorry, guys, I keep coughing. I think the other one, who was it again? Colbert and
Miguel Beltran Jr.
Yes, Mr. Beltran. Man, that was a really solid punch that knocked him out of right hand. I mean, usually I think whenever you see guys get hit like that, like his opponent, like Beltran was hit up kind of high on the head. It'll wobble people and it'll kind of throw off their equilibrium and kind of stun them a little bit. But I mean, he got fucking smashed. It was actually a really good, excellent, solid, hard punch, and it disconnected everything, and he went down like a sack of taters. I really thought the card overall was actually pretty enjoyable. If you're in it to see big fights that have a lot of big implications, then it's probably not a card for you. But if you want to see some decent fights, I feel like that would be a decent card to watch, especially given what all else was on this weekend. I was. It's hard to say eager to watch that card. I guess I did anticipate it a little bit because I wanted to see exactly how Angulo would look, and before the fight, I had made some comments about how Quillin was picking on the corpse of Angulo, and it turned out to be a good solid fight, and really all the way down the card, it was good solid fights, plenty of action. If you like the knockout, you got that. If you like to see some good close competitive fighting, you got that. I feel like there was a little bit of everything for everyone. Overall, I would say that the undercard provided enough value there to make up for what maybe the card lacked overall in terms of meaningful fights, if you want to term it that way. But yeah, solid evening, I thought. I think there's quite a bit of other stuff on that card, but I don't think that most of us here in the States got to see it because of college football or baseball. Excuse me, it was Major League Baseball running late, so I think there was a lot of other fights on that card that we could have gotten to see, but we ended up not seeing much of because of how late the baseball was running.
Yeah, quite a lengthy card. A few names on BoxRec that we'll be looking out for in the future. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Good to see you all in there. Lee, the alcoholic frotch, is knocking about. MB as well. Ray Mancini is the worst, says MB. Not happy with Mr. Mancini's performance. He's quite an entertaining character on PBC last night. Flying over to South Africa, Andy. Kevin Lerena, 27 years of age, only one loss on the record. He looks the part physically. He's a good-looking kid. He's got this IBO title they seem to like over in South Africa. Got a knockout win in the third round over Sefer Seferi. He was dwarfing Seferi, which made it look even more ridiculous that this guy was brought in for Tyson Fury, obviously for the comeback opponent. Nice little left hook to the body. Seferi's arms came down. Left hook straight up to the head. Looked like the fellow had been shot. I'm liking Lorena's work, and I'm liking some of the wins he's got. But if you look at the guys like Arthur Mann, 15-0, he just crumbled. I watched that fight. He crumbled at the first sign of adversity. Golovashenko, good win as well. Kucha, not a bad opponent. Kalenga, I thought Robert Hoyle's 117-111 card to Kalenga was spot on there. I didn't think that Lerena had won that fight. But the problem is, whenever you're judging a fighter like Kevin Lerena, Andy, you've always got this elephant in the room, this ghost hanging around his fights that is another one in the increasing list of fighters who's failed a drugs test. I find it hard to get on board with these type of guys. I know I should probably give him another chance because he's a good fighter. He's well ranked with a lot of the governing bodies. But what do you make of Lerena, Andy, particularly the drug situation?
I'm trying to cast my mind back as to what it was again he got caught for, but I think we discussed it and it was like something, there was some sort of kind of female estrogen or pregnancy tablet he took or something like that, something to kind of kickstart the system after some sort of cycle, and that naturally we still think it should be banned. I dare say we could mention Dillian White at this point, and that's one of the listeners are actually, or someone mentioned about, is it possible he's serving a secret ban or whatever it is, but I remember Mickey Nielsen, I think it was, the Danish cruiserweight, I'm sure he fought in South Africa, and I think he failed a drugs test as well, but the test wasn't deemed valid as such because the drug test authority in South Africa at that point wasn't either approved or wasn't in same conjunction with the WADA code or whatever it was and stuff. So initially it wasn't banned. So I don't know if Lerena was banned, or it was a simple 6-month ban, who knows. But for what I've seen him, he's quite small, I think, but at a certain level, he's going to be found wanting. I think obviously he's fighting Kucher, Arthur Mann. These are guys who you're talking about European, EU level and stuff. I remember seeing the big Russian character that he fought, or Azerbaijani. Wasn't that a great fight, in all honesty? And I've started to see this one for last night, but I think IBO is running about his level and stuff like that. We need to see him out of South Africa as well at some point. We need to see him. Obviously, the cruiserweight tournament's going to be finished up at some point in that as well. But I want to see him in the likes of Brevis and that next and stuff, because at this point in his career, he's holding a belt hostage in a country where no one really kind of goes of any great note or caliber. So I want to see him tested against an A-level opponent. But it looks like at the minute, as you say, he's a good-looking guy. He's selling out arenas and that over there and stuff like that. And Rodney Bergman's kind of gets his guys, Bergman gets his guys good paydays and that as well, so I dare say he's well compensated.
Yeah, he's number 5 for the WBC. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight against someone like Ilunga Makabu. That could be an interesting fight. He'd have to maybe get another win. I mean, you'd maybe pick him against someone like a Vladarchik, Glavaki. You would like to see him in Noel Gavor, see him in against these guys, see if he's the real deal, and he could maybe push towards a WBC. But as you say, Golden Gloves, paying in the money out in South Africa, why not make your coin? As for the drug situation as well, Andy, sorry, just before you jump in there, he said, the substance I have tested positive for is a product that my wife Gina is taking. He thinks he recklessly took the wrong tablet in amongst his pain medication. It's a specific medication prescribed to my wife, and it doesn't enhance your genetic potential or performance because it's not an anabolic agent. So maybe, in this case, it is a mistake, who knows?
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, mate, that one name, as I say, was what I wanted to see was Gowlaki, really. But considering what's happened to him and stuff, if that fight was ever to happen in South Africa, I kind of see the guy wanting to take that opportunity, to get, possibly get hosed over there. Don't see it.
Think he might get elbowed out to the equation?
Possibly.
They should get somebody like Mike Perez to go over there.
Oh, Mike
Someone
Perez,
like that. I don't think any of the
yeah.
I don't think any of the big names are going to travel over there, and if they're reluctant to let him, go and fight in America, then they've got to be looking at these, like European, kind of like B-level fighters, and Perez is probably at that level, really.
It's the same with the big Russian boy. There's Kuznetsky. He's another one. He's no great. That's another one who's been ranked by way of Brown.
Well, we were talking about him before. We might see Firat Arslan get on the plane out to South Africa.
What was you saying again? He must be 50 now.
I thought it was 48. Yeah, he is 48.
He'll be able to take his medication with him anyway.
Well, he
And the aging clinic.
He fought last week. Arslan got a third round TKO win. So look, he's just fresh off a camp. Now's the time. The pensioner may get his opportunity out in South Africa.
I could see it happening actually. Now you mention it,
I know they spoke about Perez fighting Makabu at some point. There'd be a carbon copy of each other, those two. They're stylistically quite evenly matched. But Perez, I don't know, it's difficult for him because after the Magomed Abdusalamov incident, rightly, he seems to have possibly lost his edge. I could be doing him a disservice here, but he doesn't seem to be as active or as involved. And these new opportunities are coming. I know he fought in the World Boxing Super Series and that, but obviously something like that would mentally do damage to you. So if that was the case, you wouldn't blame him.
No, of course not. No, there's a few fights he could look to step in, like Masternak or something like that.
Kudryashov. I mean, come on, he's beatable, surely.
Oh, he's shit.
He is shit, but come on, I mean, he's still right.
All it takes is a good solid smack on the chin, and that motherfucker's
See, he's not ranked at all, is he? So.
No, and he lost last time out, didn't he?
Who beat him? Was it Makabu? We saw somebody beat him up, didn't we? He was a bloody mess by the end. Was it Makabu? Yeah.
He's another one, actually.
There's enough fights there for him, though, to, like, just before the big boys and things like that, before, like, your Dortico, Bradis, etc., things like that. There's enough fights there that if this guy's the real deal, he can definitely step up and look at these, like, next level of opponents. Like, like your gatekeeper type things, if you were to call them.
Yep, sure we'll find some action for Lorena soon. Hopefully we'll have a bit of rapping Rob Kelly action coming up shortly. He's coming on the call. Donny was talking about joining as well. Haven't heard from Hay to Dave. No Smido tonight. As for Tommy, don't know about him. Think he's quit on his stool. Old Tommy, give you a pick here, Ozzy, from a couple of shows that if you want to talk about either of them, then do go ahead. Friday night in the Ponds Forge Arena in Sheffield, Tommy Frank getting a split decision win over Aran Dipian. Maybe just what Frank needed this. Not fussed on the old vacant WBC International Silver Super Flyweight title, but if it works for you and it gets you a ranking, then so be it. Aran Dipian, I only saw the last 3 rounds on a little gif or a little meme or whatever it was, and he seemed to be giving Frank a bit of work, just the type of fight he needs, but I'd like to see him operating at British title level. Meanwhile, over in Italy, Matchroom Italy, and I don't know why they're still going on with this venture for, but they're throwing fighters over. Luther Clay got a good win against Dario Morello. We saw Morello last time. The Sky Sports commentators were shitting all over him. He looked terrible. Davis Boschiero got a win as well over Ivan Tomas. And Sam Eggington, second round KO win over Orlando Fiordi Giglio. Any of that, Aussie, or the Sheffield card, feel free to riff on whatever you want.
Well, I won't waste any real time on the Hobson card, apart from the fact that Tommy Frank got a bit of a gift, proper hometown decision over Aran Dipian. I mean, they keep talking up this fight with Sonny Edwards. It's definitely all talk and no action because they've no interest in it. That fight can be made tomorrow, but they're not interested. They don't want the fight. It's all right saying it, but they can put money to them and it can happen. And I think Frank could get badly outclassed anyway. I think it will be relatively straightforward for Sonny Edwards. Over to Italy, and that was I actually watched this on Thursday night, and these Italian guys, we were talking about it, like they build these inflated records of just fighting utter garbage, and the two English lads battered him. Clay completely outclassed that Morello. He's not bad, Luther Clay, actually. He's a lot better than this Italian lad was, but he's actually decent. I think he's managed by Alcesta, and he's quite close to Brady. So he's boxed, going abroad has not phased him before. He's boxed in Latvia, things like that, and he simply outclassed him. He landed at punches at will, scored 2 knockdowns, and maybe a couple more rounds, and he probably could have got him out there. Or Big Terry O'Connor was in the ring for that fight, and he may well have waved it off because it was just a relatively one-sided beatdown, to be honest. And as for Sam Eggington, when he looks the bigger guy at super welterweight, you're not really in against anyone of note. And this, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name. I'll call him Orlando because that's his first name. And he ate right hands for fun. And it was like the Eggington we saw, down at welterweight, using his physique, using his skills, bulldozing forward, and he absolutely battered him. I tell you that from a gambling perspective, these Italian matchups where they've got these inflated 31-2-1 records, 15-0 records, things like that, they are an absolute gift because Eggington was the underdog and Clay was the underdog, and literally I have not seen a British fighter go over there since this Matchroom boxing thing started in Italy and lose. I think we've had Joe Hughes kicked it off and won out there. Martin Ward won out there. Eggington, Clay, both won as well. Tommy McCarthy's out there in a couple of weeks as well, and I suspect it'll go the same way for McCarthy as well. If McCarthy can show anything of what he's shown, like in the gym and what I've got people talking about him previously, then he'll go and win as well. But no, I don't really know what the point of this is. I mean, and to be fair, they sell out these cards. They look quite busy. But the Italian lads are just shy. I mean, that Boschiero fight, that Ivan Thomas, 9-0, 1 draw. Spanish lad, he was garbage, absolute fodder. And I mean, he was 9-0. I think he'd drawn for the Spanish featherweight title or lightweight title. I can't remember what it was. And yeah, Boschiero battered him, absolutely battered him. And again, it's just one of these inflated records. But no, I mean, it was something to watch on a Thursday night. And fair play to the lads because it gives them opportunities, to be fair. That's one thing it does do. Eggington was looking dead and buried after that Liam Smith fight. But look, this Orlando guy was ranked 4 by the IBF at super welterweight. Now we know the IBF don't rank 1 and 2, so Eggington's going to slot in at 4. You'd think it could be in line for if the belt becomes vacant, or I don't know who's ranked at 3. But Eggington could get a phone call to go and fight for a world title now. From beating this this absolute fodder in Italy. So
just same as Marcus Morrison. He knocked out Blandemur, didn't he?
Marcus Morrison was another one who was getting beaten up by journeyman over here. I think who was it?
Wellborn, wasn't it? Beating?
Yeah, Wellborn's definitely not a journeyman at all. I mean, he's won a British title. Wellborn, he's had his losses, but has come back extremely well. But I think Daryl Sharp beat Marcus Morrison. I think Tyan Booth drew with him as well. So I mean, we know the level that Morrison's operating at. And then he goes out there and he scores a big highlight knockout. So yeah, I think these Italian guys aren't much cop, to be honest, and the Brits are just going over there, probably getting a nice paycheck and coming over with emphatic wins.
Yeah, Max Stokes sent a question and he said, how long will the Italians put up with Matchroom B team smashing their fighters? Luther Clay beats Conor Benn for me. What do you think about that, Ozzy? When is Ben going to fight somebody half decent at domestic level? He thinks Luther Clay, Max Stokes does, could be the ideal opponent for Ben.
From what perspective to get beat? An ideal opponent for Ben to look good and get an half decent name, or that he thinks he will get? Because I would take probably 75% of welterweights and light welterweights to beat Conor Benn. I think any sort of remotely decent boxer will beat him. I mean, they're looking at the Johnny Garton fight, but then they can't agree cash with Garton, who, look, he's not the be all and end all. He's not coming out, asking for ludicrous cash, and they simply don't want to pay the money for him because they're very selective on who Conor Benn will fight because they know he's not. He's not ready. I mean, he's withdrawn from English title eliminators, Southern area title fights as well. They're very, very selective on who he will fight. And obviously we saw when he got dropped twice off that Cedric Peno. So they're not going to put him in with any big punches either. I think Clay can punch. I think Clay would beat Ben. He definitely needs to step up. I mean, look, the guy's 15-0, 10 KOs. I mean, they can't keep putting him on these high-profile pay-per-view shows and live on Primetime Sky fighting fodder. So I want to see him step up, and I think Luther Clay, look, he had a decent performance in front of the Sky cameras. That would be an excellent fight. Another one that's calling for the fight as well is he's an Albanian guy called Florian Marku, managed by Steve Goodwin.
Oh, is that him who sells all the tickets?
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Honestly, he sells thousands of tickets. It's a joke. He's like a big celebrity in Albania. He sold out York Hall in his second fight. So look, I mean, I think he was a big MMA guy, like star over there, and he can really punch. He fought in the Ultimate Boxer card. Now they're calling out Conor Benn. Now that is not going to happen in a million years. It's too hard for Conor Benn. Because look, we saw Payno drop him. If Marku hits him flush on the chin, it's lights out. So it's going to be interesting to see. He's scheduled to fight on that card for at the O2. What show is it? Taylor Progress show. So there's a month left now until the show. So fingers crossed we get some sort of like respectable opponent for Ben, who, like I said, at the moment he's building one of these records that these Bulgarians and Spaniards do, and then sell it at the first sign of a payday.
Yeah, Max Stoke agrees. He thinks that Luther Clay would probably be too much for Conor Benn. He also said Quillin and Angulo look like two old drunkards at the local boozer last night. Both need to retire, and yet the PBC cheerleaders are talking about more fights. Both get annihilated by a legit 168-pounder. Truax spoke sense when he said Callum Smith is the best super middleweight. Looks as though the others have to read a PBC script. No mention of Saunders at 168 either. Chris Colbert looks superb against a shop-worn Beltran Jr., says Max Stoke. Gabe, just before we move on, anything from you over the weekend? Anything you might have caught? I did watch a Facebook stream as much as I could manage. Jojo Diaz getting a majority decision win over Jesus Cuadro. Thought Diaz had done enough to win the fight. The fact that he's winning a 12-rounder against an 18-5 guy only on a majority decision is probably a bad look for Diaz, although he did go the distance with Gary Russell. I thought Russell would get rid of him, but Diaz has showed that he's of sturdier stuff. Admitted he needed to go back to the drawing board after that. His dad has learnt a lot as well in the corner, and he put in a pretty decent performance, but you need to be winning handy against guys like Cuadro. Did you see that, Gabe, or did you see anything else from the weekend that I might have missed? Maybe Oliver McCall coming back at 55 years of age, winning against a gentleman whose name I've forgotten. Let's see if I can bring this up right now. Retired in the second round, Hugo Lomelli, over in Mexico. Why on earth is McCall fighting still, Gabe?
I didn't even know it was, to be honest with you, until that bit. I didn't see anything else. I was wondering how that card turned out, the one down yonder in Mexico with Jojo Diaz. He's kind of a, you see him fight, sometimes you think, this kid could do some good things. I don't think anybody probably seriously watches him and says, this guy's a world beater. He's going to be the next big thing, because he's already had that opportunity kind of come and go for him. But, I mean, I think he's a solid fighter. And I think he has the potential to be, a strap holder, whatever that means in this day and age. You can take it a lot of different ways. Some guys get belts and they get, at least a claim to be a legitimate champion. Other guys we recognize get belts and they, don't necessarily, I guess, cut the mustard with the eye test, in terms of they're not guys that look like they're going to be all that great, but somehow they managed to get a belt like Quillin. And you have, I think a little bit of everything in between. I just think it's interesting that they're choosing to have him go down to Mexico for a fight and to make it a 12-rounder against a guy with, not an outstanding record. I would think that they would try to have him on television here or filling up their time on the zone that they have to cover. I'm not sure what their schedule looks like for Golden Boy, but I don't know. I just always find that he's a little bit of an intriguing fighter in some ways because, like you said, I thought Russell was going to spark him out at some point after he, kind of just whipped him around the ring, but he didn't. And I think that, Jojo Diaz has some potential to at least be a notable name, and that to me is something. But no, I didn't catch that. Didn't catch any actually other fights at all, except for the Quillin card, Quillin and Angulo.
Indeed, a pretty weak week by all accounts. One comment that came in from one of our friends over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum, Danny Young, just too late for the show last week, but he was talking about Fury against Wallin, if you remember that one. On the Fury-Wallin fight, do you think, if it wasn't Fury, that the doctors could have waved the fight off? Talking about the bad cut, it was a pretty bad cut. I put a picture up on our Facebook page. Absolute slicer, 40-odd stitches as well. Also, I thought, says Danny, Fury could have done more to keep Wallin away from the cut, as he seemed to be keep coming inside the right eye first rather than the left. Also, I was impressed again by Ben Davidson in the Fury corner. Yeah, we said the same as well, Danny. Most of us agreed that Davidson did a pretty decent job. You are listening to episode 341 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Andy Patterson's floating in and out with us at the moment. Ozzie Smith's here, Gabe Lewis also joining the call, rapping Rob Kelly. Good to have you on. A relatively weak week, Rob, but we found something to talk about over the weekend. Peter Quillin against Alfredo Angulo. Who saw that one coming?
Well, not me, anyway. Not in 2019. I definitely didn't see it coming. I couldn't see it being made, let alone when I heard it was being made, did I have any interest in it. But for some reason, I couldn't sleep last night. I just could not go to sleep. It just wasn't happening. So got up out of the bed, threw on the Mac, looked for a stream, got a decent-ish stream of the card. I was kind of watching away really just in background. I actually fell asleep before the Quillin Angulo fight happened, but I was invested in it at that stage, so I was determined to watch it. Yeah, so I watched the copy this morning, and like, I fucking don't really know what's going on. Like, boxing has gone mental. Like, listen, the storylines that we're after having in 2019. I mean, at the end of 2018, we all just thought Wilder and Fury were going to fight each other. No. AJ's lost to Ruiz. Fucking Wilder's fighting Ortiz again, and Tyson Fury's just had 2 fights with Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallin, one where he got sliced to death. So, and in the same breath, in the next week, we've seen Alfredo Angulo roll back the years at 160. Was it 160 or 168, by the way?
168.
Fucking 168 to nearly knock out Peter Quillin. Absolutely mad. Absolutely mad. I think the fight showed how... I always thought that Peter Quillin was gun shy in the second half of his fight with Andy Lee. I'm not just saying it because I know Andy or whatever, but I remember watching it at the time. Dominated the first couple of rounds. There was a contentious knockdown in there, as well as a couple of legitimate knockdowns, and he really had Andy going. And Andy, as usual, dug in, found the left hook somewhere, dropped him with a flash knockdown, and ever since then he went out of the fight. He backed up. He didn't want to exchange. He didn't want to throw punches in case he caught something. Since then, he's just been a shell of what he was, and it's probably, they were looking at it, at what he turned out to be. They were probably right to duck the Korobov fight, because Korobov probably would have smashed him. So yeah, but like, one thing boxers can't do is roll back time and roll back and fight father time. So I'm not reading anything into this Angulo performance other than Quillin is shot and Angulo is less shot. Angulo had nothing to lose last night, ploughed through him, walked through him, had him hurt several times, could have got him out of there, I thought, a couple of times. Won a split decision because Quillin was just, I suppose, landing some more, so it's what you like. But fuck me, like, I wouldn't be running to rewatch it or anything. It was entertaining for what it was. No belts on the line, PBC-ish type card, but to see the two of them headlining a card in 2019 is fucking dire. And if there was anything else on last night, we probably wouldn't even be talking about it. So I'm not going to say the less said about it, the better, but really, like, who the fuck cares where the two of these go from here? Like, Angulo's not going to be up threatening anybody at 68 for a world title, is he? And Peter Quillin even less so after that. So, you know, gave us a good night's entertainment. Good on the two of them, two good competitors in their prime. Angulo, I was always a big fan of. Very good fighter, always left it all in the ring. Been through stuff in his personal life as well. So I'm a big fan of Angulo, but did not want to see him out at this stage. And I actually thought Quillin would beat him, but he proved me wrong on that. But yeah, as I said, where the fuck are the two of them going to go now? Like, apart from maybe fighting another PBC fighter at 68. But yeah, I mean, I remember people at the time when Heyman was putting this PBC thing together that everyone said he's going to run it like Dana. It's going to be just like the UFC, and you know, maybe that's what it is. You know, you just keep rolling these guys out, putting them on a card here and there. someone will watch it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
Whereas
what
I
it
don't-
is, Rob, isn't it? You know, what he's doing at the moment, he's putting two washed-up guys together, hoping that the legs have gone that much that they'll stand and trade, as these two did. The loser leaves town, the winner gets fed to somebody else. Like, one of the guys in the chat was saying, Angulo getting fed to Benavidez. You know, it could be a body on the record.
What about
Yeah.
These ITV cards he's meant to be giving us every other couple of months and stuff? And that as well.
Died of death,
haven't
didn't
seen
he?
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen him at all. But yeah, I don't give a fuck about these two. I mean, like I said, big fan of Angulo in his heyday. Like Peter Quillin too. I always thought he was a stylish fighter, but 2019, lads, these guys are 5 years past it, both of them, like 4 years past it at least. So yeah, sad state of affairs. What's coming up though? What have we got coming up? What have we got? Questions have we got? What impressions is Hater Dave doing? You know what I mean? We can make it work on a short week, you know.
Well, Hater Dave will be doing no impressions because he's not with us, but we've got Spence
fuck's
against Porter, and we've got Dubois coming up later, Rob, so be sure to stick around for that.
We'll
I had a recording from Bob Arum, and he said that, I'll quote him here, that Johnny guy's a real cut for not being on the podcast so I can hear him.
Yeah, we're expecting Donny, but no announcement yet, Rob. No announcement for Donny yet. Enjoying his honeymoon too much to come on with the likes of us. He's done
Donny's
baseball.
getting serious ass. He's not coming on. Him and Kurt Ward, forget about it. Ward's like Austin Powers, man. International man of mystery. He's fucking, they seek him here, they seek him there. They fucking seek him everywhere. Is he in Bucharest? Is he in hell?
Maybe he's in Guantanamo Bay,
He could be.
being a prisoner.
Well, we had a
Might as
nice
well need to get
message.
married.
We had a nice message for Donny coming from Lee the Alcoholic Frotch last week that I forgot to read out. He said, shout out to Donny Baseball doing anal with his new wife. So they should have read that out at the wedding.
See you in 7 years.
For the fucking toast.
Any messages? We've had one coming from Lee the Alcoholic Frotch. Ding, 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 ding.
That reminds me, actually, my mate got married in Spain 2 years ago to some Venezuelan one. And I said to him, I couldn't make it, so I sent a telegram and they read it out. And his family would be quite fucking well to do, like. So they read it out, and I said, sorry I couldn't be there, dude. Or sorry I couldn't be there for your first wedding. I'm sure I'll make the next one. Said it didn't exactly go down that well.
Rob Kelly, everybody, available for weddings.
At the wedding.
Yeah, his brother read it out, so I don't think he thought it through, to be honest with you.
He was halfway through reading it and then he realised.
Yeah.
Gotta finish.
Yep.
Right, let's move on to more serious matters with you, Andy. Matt Dobson threw in a question over on Patreon. He said the big CTE, given its Angulo fight week, little did he know, this was written before the fight, who was washed when he fought Canelo in 2014. Which current fighters, Andy, are a lock for CTE? Matt says Dave Allen is a concern for me. Broner,
Definitely.
who's now fodder for the B and A class guys, is also under threat, I'd like to think. And Pascal, Jean Pascal's recent win, will probably get him a few more fights he physically doesn't need. So who's on the CTE scale for you, Andy?
Chisora. He's had a couple of bad knockouts, tough fights and stuff.
Yes.
I was going to say Kovalev, but he's not had he's had a couple of tough fights, but he's not had a lot of bad beatings and stuff.
More IBS than CTE for him getting hit to that body.
His CTE to the body.
Pascal, I agree with that one actually. He took a trimming in both their fights, didn't he? And he's had a few hard ones in that as well for good measure. I tell you what, after his next fight, probably Vinny Feigen boots when what's his name, Caleb Plant gets a hold of him actually, and works him over like a heavy bag. He helped me with some names, and that I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Trying to think at the top of divisions at the minute.
What was the question?
Who do you think, Ozzy, is going to be a lock on? Yeah, for CTE. Like head brain damage.
Can.
I? Fair point. Can I? You just mentioned his name there. What do you call him? The Atomic Bull.
Oliver McCall. Yeah.
McCall, aye.
Yeah. Because he has a good chin as well.
Gary Russell, by the way, the fucking way he's going to be behaving, threatening all guys and stuff like that.
Shithead.
Conor
Fucking
McGregor.
shithead.
That was nasty. That's
Absolute
Bellew. Someone's
shithead.
put that for Bellew of the week. Yeah, that was nasty. That was.
Yeah, good. We'll get to him. That was fucking, what a shithead.
Definitely. Yeah, Ozzy, if you've got any to throw in, we're talking about guys. Dave Allen was thrown in by Matt Dobson. Also, he threw in
Sounds
John
bad,
Pascal.
already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any you want to throw in, sir?
No, I'll keep thinking though. Khan was one of mine that I said.
Rosado.
Oh yeah, good show.
I mean, how many times has he taken a beating like Rosado? Face has been a punch bag for about 5 years.
I was gonna say, he doesn't just get picked off either, does he? He gets the shit kicked out of him when he does get beat.
Yeah, so, I think some of these Mexicans as well who are still going, like Mickey Roman, someone like that. I mean, you can't take that many punches constantly for 70, 80 fights and still be okay. So I'll be concerned for him. Also, we have a new caller on the line. He's logging in. I'm not sure who it is, to be honest, but it's live.cd.a45abv749. Is that you, Donny?
You're goddamn right.
Yo, Donny!
Hey!
Congratulations, Don. Good to hear from you. How are you now that your life's over? Or is it not sunk in yet? Congratulations, man.
Steve, he's loving life on private beaches that he's now got.
Great stuff, man. Good to hear. Where'd you go on your honeymoon, Don?
Nantucket.
Oh, very nice. Where's that?
It's basically there's 2 islands off the coast of Massachusetts. Martha's Vineyard, where Obama used to go on vacation, and then Nantucket, where the rich people go.
Oh, Jeffrey Epstein.
I believe there was a man from Nantucket.
Yeah. I didn't know if that was the thing across the pond. I was gonna say that, but I didn't know if it would play.
Oh, we know all about that, Donny. What about the boxing then? What have you seen in your absence? Not just from this weekend, but what about previous weeks that we haven't had you on? Anything that's taken your fancy?
Not particularly. Actually, I mean, because I was busy planning for the wedding and then doing the wedding and the honeymoon and everything, I really hadn't paid attention. Last night was the first time I'd watched boxing in about a month. What was his name? The guy that knocked out Beltran. Was it Beltran Jr.?
Yeah, Colbert.
Yeah, I thought that was an excellent performance by him, and looking forward to seeing more of Colbert, Primetime, as he calls himself. And I'm also, I was loving Alfredo Angulo fucking turning back the clock against Peter Quillin, a guy I don't even like. Seeing him beat Quillin and just like walk through those punches just to deliver 3 more, and his were more of the punches that really mattered. I mean, it was like it was like 10 years ago, Angulo. I mean, he must have needed that win really badly, and he probably wants to continue his career. And I think he dug down for all he once was and recaptured, a former version of himself. And it was very satisfying to see because, my last memory of Angulo was him being brutalized by Canelo, and thinking, oh wow, this guy's done, and that was probably 5 years ago, and to see him just come back the way that he did, and win a big meaningful fight again, was pretty satisfying, and I enjoyed watching it, and I enjoyed rooting for him. I didn't really have a rooting interest in the fight as I began watching it, but as the fight progressed, I was clearly became in the corner of Angulo because I think it was hard not to root for him, considering all that he's been through.
What about Fury last week, Don? Did you manage to catch up with that? What did you make of his performance, if indeed you did see it?
I did see that too, actually. I didn't watch it live, but I watched it later. And that cut was nasty. I mean, we all knew that Fury was going to beat this guy. He did Wallen put in a good performance, and it'll be a credible performance to get him some more fights with the contenders. But I'm just worried about that cut fucking up the Wilder fight, because I think what we have learned here is that, we all wanted Wilder Joshua, and then we didn't get that. And then what happened? He went and fought Joshua went and fought Andy Ruiz and fucked it all up, right? and we would have had, undefeated heavyweight champion versus undefeated heavyweight champion. Well, now we have the chance for an undefeated lineal heavyweight champion versus an undefeated WBC heavyweight champion. And, is this going to get fucked up again? Are they going to go fight somebody else and then somebody's going to lose in a bizarre scenario or something and fuck up this money fight? I mean, they just need to stop with this bullshit and just get down to business. And I'm just really worried that this cut is going to delay the fight out to the extent that maybe Wilder might take another fight now, and then, I mean, I just want to see them get it on, and this cut is a real impediment to that.
Talking about getting it on, Donny. How's your foreskin?
How's my foreskin?
Yeah. But
he hasn't got one, has he?
Yeah.
Oh, is he Jewish,
America,
is he?
Andy, most people are circumcised, including myself.
Oh, you Jewish, like?
Here, Ozzy.
Hey,
No, not Ozzy,
Jewish,
sorry.
man. You can be Irish as well if you want to. You know what I mean?
You can be anything you want to these days. Be a woman if you want, Don. Yeah. Donny, one thing I was going to say to you, actually, back to the boxing quickly. You're right about the cut. I thought if Fury can have a cut opened that badly off a punch, imagine how badly it could open off a punch already having opened, if you know what I mean, with the stitching. I know they can glue it back together and do plastic surgery, but the fact it's already been opened once that badly means Wilder could get a jab in, a left hook or something, and it's going to be an absolute massacre, I think. And he's not going to do a walling. He'll finish the job if Fury gets cut like that against him.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course it could happen that way, that the cut gets reopened again, but well, I guess we'll have to see what happens, really. I mean, sometimes guys get horrible cuts and then, it doesn't open again. I mean, didn't Marciano almost had the whole side of his face split open, essentially? And I forget who it was against, but he went out.
Ezra Charles. It was his nose. His nose was hanging off with two flaps against Ezra Charles, and they put some bond on it in the corner to glue it back together. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and other guys have had really bad cuts before. I mean, sometimes if it's a one-time thing, they can come back from it. It seems to be as if you get the cut once, and then if somebody reopens it again and they're sealing up that same area again, that's when you seem to have problems. It's usually when it's a more than once type of occurrence.
Good to have you back, Donny. Stay for as long as you want. We're going to be talking about Spence Porter later on. If you wish to stick with us, you can. You're more than welcome.
I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Great stuff. Ozzy, back over to you. On to the important stuff. Let's fly back up to world level. None of that Tyson Fury nonsense. Prince Patel getting a win over in Germany against Luis Melendez, as Porky would say. He's in his 40th year. That doesn't matter. Former world title challenger. The Prince managed to defeat him. Fresh off his win over Idi Kayumba in Cairo, where he won the ABU title. He's banishing the loss to Michel Banquez. He tweeted out earlier, Ozzy, I boxed in Germany in a scheduled 12-rounder versus a two-time world title challenger, winning with a 4th round KO. This was my second scheduled 12-rounder in 28 days and third in under 70 days. I want to thank my opponent and wish him and his family well in the future. #boxing. Disappointing lack of hashtags from someone who likes one, which does Mr. Patel. But he got a 4th round knockout win anyway, and he's moving onwards and upwards. Where can this story possibly end?
Who knows? A very polite message from Prince Patel, something he's obviously not used to. And as you say, he's banished that loss. He's on back-to-back wins now, so he can enjoy it. I mean, a win over Idi Kayumba can do anything for your confidence. Now he's come back and demolished Luis Melendez. What we're saying there, how old is he? So he's... how old is he? So 40 years old.
In November.
But he's got experience. He knows his way around the ring, and the Prince just completely dominated him. So what can we say? He's ticked off another country. I think it's the first time he's boxed in Germany. So I think the real question is when is he going to return back to the UK? He's got an army of fans over here who want to see him. I can't say whether they want to see him get beat or win, but they want to see him. And who knows? I mean, look, he's maybe putting the bantamweights on ice again. Who knows? I mean, he's ranked number 3 out of 22 by the in Britain. Only Cash Fury. He's actually ranked above Lee McGregor. Cash Farouk and Paul Butler are the only bantamweights above him, and he's broke into the top 100 again in the world. So the world is his oyster for Prince Patel. Who knows what country or what caliber of opponent he'll be in with next. Maybe he should hook up with Saul Farah. He should hook up with Saul Farah. I think there'd be a real, like match made in heaven, wouldn't there? Like
traveling circus.
Yeah, Farah can promote the show, match make, and then referee Patel's fight. Why not?
Oh dear, Prince Patel rolling on. Let's make it happen. No word on the Saul Farah fight from last week yet, but 30th Century Man did alert me to a title. Oliver McManus was tweeting out. He said an Australian heavyweight was fighting in Australia against another Australian heavyweight on Saturday night, and he's just won the WBO African title. Explain that one to me. Hashtag boxing. I think you probably explained it to yourself there, sir. Hashtag boxing indeed. Get a title on the line. It reminds me of the time two Ugandan heavyweights fought in the Holiday Inn in Belfast. Boxing's a universal sport, and if we can get a title on the line, then why the hell not? Jason Chukwu is in the chat, everybody. Jason Chukwu is in the chat. He's seen 7-year anal, no surprise there, after his ban. He also said my boy Terrell Williams lost to Delorme, was going to bet on him at 2-1. Yeah, Terrell, don't think he's going anywhere, to be honest with you, Jason. Rapping Rob Kelly, question came in for you from Brian G. I tagged you in on this earlier, so hopefully you're ready to roll. Give the same question you gave to Andy last week regarding the Scottish fighters. So the top 3 Irish fighters, Rob, and the top 3 fights involving Irish fighters as well. Hit me.
Well, I start with the fights. McGuigan, Eusebio Pedrosa, I believe, without looking it up, was 85 in the Loftus Hall. Not Loftus Hall, Loftus Park. Loftus Hall is in Wexford.
Loftus Road.
Loftus Road, QPR's ground.
It was 85, yeah.
85, yeah. I mean, what it meant, like, I remember it was one of the first fights I ever watched. Saturday night, I believe, and it was, I think McGuigan got Pedrosa at the right time. Pedrosa been a great champion. Managed to drop him along the way. And look, Barry McGuigan was just a megastar. What it did for boxing in Ireland, it's a pity it turned out to be the type of businessman he was, especially for Carl Frampton. But what he was at the time, he was an absolute megastar. I mean, he drove the interest in boxing. Everybody was joining boxing clubs. Everybody wanted to be world champion like Barry McGuigan. So I think, they made a bad decision. I think he defended against Danilo Cabrera and won that, I think, in a 9th round stoppage, and then lost to Steve Cruz outdoors in Vegas, in the fucking desert in the middle of the day, having a lad from Monaghan fighting a Mexican in the fucking desert with no water. Like, some mistakes were made there. Like, where McGuigan probably could have had a longer reign. Definitely shouldn't have gone if he was going to go to the States, should have fought in New York. Definitely not fighting a Mexican in the desert in the daytime in the outdoor arena. I think that might have been stacking the odds against him. So McGuigan, Pedrosa, massive fight for Irish boxing. I'm going to go in then the second one for Bernard Dunn, against Cordoba for his world title win in the Point in Dublin.
Yeah.
Had been knocked out already by Kiko Martinez, and always showed some kind of signs of fragility. Bernard Dunn, even in his earlier days. I remember a fight he had in the National Stadium where he was fighting some Latvian road sweeper and got clipped in the last round, was hanging on for dear life, was all over the place. So I'd always kind of expected him to get knocked out as he went up in levels, and I was there the night, I spoke about it before, I was there the night Kiko knocked him out. I remember the Dublin crowd turning on him a little bit, because Bernard Dunn was kind of you think back, social media was just started, kind of wasn't as big as it was today, but Bernard Dunn was selling out the Tree Arena over here, as it's known now, the Point Depot back in the days.
He was big on the forums, Rob. Sorry to interrupt you. I remember the BoxRec forum sort of blew up a bit the night he lost to Martinez, because I was on my honeymoon actually when that fight happened, and there was a lot of interest in it.
Oh, it was massive. I mean, he sold. I remember he beat the guy for the Europeans title, Ingle fighter. What was his name again?
Isham Pickering,
yeah. And then he defended it against the guy that had beat him in the amateurs, Rainer, I think.
Ryder Wallstad.
Right. Yeah. It was at that fight as well, and he had, I think he beat a Kazakhstani guy in about 4 rounds before he won the European
Jersin Jelayev.
Yeah, I was at that one as well. So massive interest in him, and as you said last week, the Sweet Carolines and all that kind of came from Peter. So it was a big carnival, and I remember the night of the Martinez fight, how the casual Dublin crowd rather, turned on him completely. Like, you're calling him an L1, you're like, I'm bleeding L1 and all after getting knocked out. So for Peters to manoeuvre him back into world title contention after that, and then to go and beat Cordoba. I think Cordoba was suffering that night. He suffered from dehydration and there was some issue with him. But Dunn was in control of the fight. I remember Manny saying to me years ago about Bernard Dunn that he had come back from the States because he had to, so that he was at a certain level. So, you know what I mean? He was fighting in Ireland, and he was fighting in Ireland because he could. Had to, because he wasn't good enough to make it in the States. So that kind of stuff always was in the forefront of my head, and I wasn't expecting him. The moments he put in that night, I mean, both guys left it all in the ring that night. Sensational fight. If anyone hasn't seen it on YouTube, back and forward. There was times Dunlop's gone, times he has Cordoba gone, and gritted out the performance. Lost it to Punsawat in the first defence, I think, but was always going to have a tough night against Punsawat with his chin, like. But you know, definitely overachieved. I think Bernard Dunn, a great guy as well, involved in the high performance. Now for the Olympians as well, so and a great guy. Actually, my mate was teaching him Irish. He was wanting to be on the Irish speaking broadcasting over here, covering boxing one stage. So my mate was teaching him Irish, and he signed a book and everything for me. So he's a good guy. I remember he got behind one of my singles before, but not all that aside. That's all after the fact of watching him fight. I used to go to a lot of his fights. So he was a star over here, a star in the making. Definitely overachieved, and definitely helped put boxing back on the map in Ireland. I mean, Jesus Christ, there hadn't been boxing shows here since the 90s, and he, you know, between him and Brian Peters, they worked a fantastic partnership there to bring boxing back to the forefront in Ireland. And obviously what's transpired since means we're not probably going to see shows here for a long time, like, but
no.
So that's number 2, and then number 3 has to be Collins Eubank. Now obviously I'm talking about fights in my lifetime. You can go back, Mike McTighe, Battle at Psyche, and he can tell you probably more about that than me, but in terms of, you know, fights that capture the imagination for Irish people, I mean, you had everything. You had Steve Collins, the hypnotist in the build-up, completely psyching out Eubank. Had Eubank kind of scared or shook or something, spooked definitely in that night. And I remember when Eubank had him hurt, he didn't, for me, put the foot on it, like, to try and get him out of there, completely spooked. So did a total psych job on Eubank and took it from him in Mill Street in Cork. Night Eubank came in on a Harley Davidson as well, like, so had everything. It was electric atmosphere, and because this was like in the 90s, so I think it was 96 or something. So like a teenager back in the 90s and say to your parents, like, in Ireland, you want to get Sky, you'd be like, Mark, can we get Sky? What? You have to pay for the telly? All right. You know what I mean? It was like, yeah, we're going to pay for the telly.
No chip cable box.
But so one of the neighbours, yeah, exactly, like before all that. So one of the neighbours had it, and the whole estate bailed into the living room to watch the fight. Like, there was about fucking 30 people in the sitting room watching it on the night I watched it. But so the fighters then, I mean, McGuigan has to be up there for me. Jesus, like, Irish fighters, you're going back in my lifetime. I mean, it's probably Andy Lee, Bernard Dunn, Steve Collins. I think probably the best ones, and Barry McGuigan. But, you know, feel free to throw in any others that you can think of. There's been guys that have shown good potential as well that haven't gone to all the way or whatever for various reasons along the way, and been exciting characters. But I think with those guys winning world titles, you have to give it to them. Like,
absolutely. Well said, Rob. And as for Dunn as well, just as a side note, whenever Peters was rebuilding him after losing to Martinez, he took him all around the country, and he had fights in Castlebar and Limerick and goodness knows where else. And the one fight before the Cordoba fight was in Limerick in the Briefy House. I was there myself, against a guy called Christian Faccio, and it ended on a cut. And we thought that Dunn was going to get stopped, and then that would have been the opportunity, you know, the rise back off again. But they managed to wheedle the BUI rules or whatever to say that it was a technical decision, and the next fight they got for him was Cordoba, and they wanted to avoid the Punsawat first defence, but the WBA said no. The WBA were just starting to fuck about with the titles then, weren't they? Maybe they were saying that there was a super champion and Dunn was the regular or the world champion or whatever it was, and they said no, you've got to fight Punsawat, and Punsawat came to town again. I was at that one as well and banged him out. All the old frailties came back to roost.
Well, Punsawat had been staying with a relation of mine's friend, and they'd been over with him every day, and they said his focus was just second to none. Like, you know, he'd come all the way over, wasn't one bit distracted, just was mind on the job, and just knew he was going for the knockout, knew he was going to win by knockout. I think it was a big ask for Bernard. He would have liked the gimme. He probably would have made a bit more money there selling out the point again, getting a nice easy night. But yeah, I mean, in terms of you know, class and ability, I think he definitely overachieved winning the world title, and that's not a slight on him. I think he was just slightly above European level and slightly below world level. So to get the win in Dublin with his dad in the corner against a good fighter, you know, shows really the measure of his achievement. Like,
absolutely. Yep, thanks for indulging us, everybody. It's just things that we remember at the time. It's interesting to talk about these type of things. Trading Leather Boxing threw in a question over on Twitter. He said, is Dillian White now serving a ban? We've already addressed this. I thought for a sec he might be, but someone else said that UCAD have to have it on the website, acknowledging that. But with all the smoke and mirrors and the money flying about, you wouldn't know what was going on behind the scenes. He's gone awfully quiet of late, which is a telltale sign, says Trading Leather Boxing, and now he's on Celebrity MasterChef. Wonder if he'll be cooking some of Canelo's steaks. He might well be. Action from next week coming up. The Kazakhs are coming in town over in Canada. 16-0. Batazan Jukembayev is going in against the veteran Miguel Vasquez. Could be one to watch, this Jukembayev. Heard good things about him down at super lightweight. Also a bit closer to home, Steve Wood is running a show over in Bolton. Jack Flatley 15-0-1. British, it's the English title rather, super welterweight title against unbeaten Harry Scarf. Good stuff there from Steve Wood. In the chat, Jason says, yeah, Martin Rogan should be on the list as well. Yeah, great. Willie Casey, yeah, he had a good run as well, didn't he? And over in France, excuse me, heavyweight Tony Yoka, 6-0, putting his record on the line against Michael Wallisch. Am I right in saying off the top of my head, Wallisch was the German who they sacrificed to Effie Ajagba on the PBC recently? This could be it could be a decent yardstick for Yoka, who's moving on quite swiftly, I think, considering he's only 6-0. I know we've had, again, like Lorena, there's always dark clouds in the background.
Absolutely, dark clouds, something to be kind of very suspicious about. But yeah, it's a step up of sorts, I suppose. Especially as Yoko's trying to climb himself back up the ranks. But I'm kind of looking forward to the guy that I'm looking forward to is Silman Suzuki, super welterweight. I'd had hoped he'd be running a bit of title fights at the minute and stuff like that as well. So he's fighting Dmitry Melilenko, 23-4. And another fighter, actually, I just noticed he's one of the Uzbeks, Steve, he's fighting in South Africa next week, believe it or not, is Shavadgan Rakimov. This is a kind of weird one, actually. I don't know how he ended up fighting there, but he's fighting Asga Fuzeli. No a title on the line that I can think of or can see at the minute, but they're supposed to be getting billed as some sort of final eliminator for the IBF title. So, who is champion of the IBF super featherweight at the minute? Anybody?
Luke. Super featherweight would be... it's Tevin Farmer, isn't it?
Was it? Interesting.
Hang on, I'm on... yeah, super featherweight, Tevin Farmer, yeah. Sorry.
Am I on the right... Well, I'm wondering if I'm right in saying then that is he one of these... In fact, he's not a Uzbek, is he? He's a Tajik. Or is he a Russian? Well, I forget what one he is, but I don't know if he's signed with Hearn. I know Hearn's got either a couple of the Russians and a couple of Uzbeks now. I don't know if this is one of them.
I'm losing track of them, Andy, because there's Suleiman is about as well. There's that many of them about. Rakimov's number 5 with the IBF, though, so if he could get a shot against Farmer, although Farmer thinks he's got bigger fish to fry. Kenichi Ogawa's number 3 in the rankings. Don't know how he's found himself there again. But yeah, the Uzbeks, the Kazakhs, there's that many of them. We're going to have to see the cream rise to the top, aren't we, Andy? The good ones are going to start coming to the fore, and the less good ones, like your man who fought Haney last week, are going to start dropping off.
Yeah, he's going to drop off and stuff like that. But as I say, ones that I'm keeping an eye on is at Rakimov. As I say, he's fighting next week. Akhmedov, he's another one, I think. And there's another one, I think it's Madrimov. So as I say, there's fucking tons of them at the minute. There's like, Kurbanov, I think it's another Russian who's coming through in that as well. That entire region at the minute is just a wash of fighters. And I know they've been picking with the World Amateur Championships here recently. They're just yesterday, I suppose. Quite a few Russians and Uzbeks and Kazakhs in the finals and semi-finals and that. A few picking up medals and that as well. So it's just bitching with talent in there at the minute. It's incredible.
Yeah, MB in the chat says the South Africans won the purse bids for the fight, so that's why they're taking them over there. So we'll watch that with interest. Former Tyson Fury victim Tom Schwartz returns for the vacant IBF international title in Germany next Saturday evening against Ilya
Cadrillo on the undercard, mate. My mate.
Who's
Peter
that, Andy?
Cadrillo. Peter Cadrillo on the undercard.
There we go. What do you think about all this, Rob? Are you looking forward to the invasion?
Definitely not, but on on the undercard of the McGuigan Cruise one, I just pulled it up on Boxrec because I remember thinking got my dates wrong. I thought it was Duran versus Hearns on the undercard, but it wasn't. It was Thomas Hearns with a win over Mark Medal, Roberto Duran with a loss to Robbie Sims, and Harold Graham with a win over Ernie Rabotes. So think about that. Roberto Duran was the third warm up for Barry McGuigan in the undercard for that fight. Like,
and he should have won the fight. If Duran hadn't had the point deducted off him, he'd have got a draw in that fight. Or he might have won it, I think, on one of the cards. I can't mind.
Yeah, I remember it being somewhat controversial at the time. Well, not at the time, but in retrospect.
Donnie, are you still with us? This layout means that I can't see who's still on the call. Speak now if you're there. Donnie?
Leo Fitino,
doesn't look like he's there, but...
No, I don't see his little thing, but I
hey!
The little... I don't... Freudian slip. I don't see his circle bobbing about. Not getting any better, is it this? I don't see Aussies either for some reason. So there's 5 out of 6 in the call. Going all Yusuf Mack on the pod there, Donny. No, I think
Gabe and Oz and Andy are there from what I can see, but what the fuck do I know?
Yes, Aussie's here. We'll get to you then, Aussie, shall we? Fight of interest next week. Hopefully get a stream for this one on Saturday night alongside Daniel Dubois. It will be watching on BT, obviously. Over in Spain, the rematch, David Avanesian against Kermin Leharaga. Bit of an upset, this one. We know Avanesian is a good fighter. We know he can mix in and around the European fringe contender level. Carl Greaves trains him. He's in excellent shape. But a lot of people thought that this Leharaga was going places. He was a bit of a puncher. He was knocking through people like Frankie Gavin, and I expected him to beat Avanesian. Is this the chance now, Aussie, for Leharaga? He's got to win this if he's going to make any waves at world level. If he loses to Avanesian again, fair and square, then we can say he was another one of these one-dimensional punchers. Yes,
I think a lot of people tipped up Bradley Skeet to beat him, Leharaga, and he absolutely destroyed him. And then, I mean, I know it was only 4 rounds, but for the first 3, Frankie Gavin completely outboxed him, and then obviously Gavin got caught completely out of shape and got battered. Avanesian came up, and I think he just weathered an early storm and then started to take over in the first fight. And I've not seen enough from the Spaniard to see that he can do anything different. I rate Avanesian. I think he's decent. I think he's mixed at a good level. He's had his losses, but he's also had his wins as well. He's been out to Bilbao before and he's got the win. So it's not as if, he's going to be phased by, it was quite an intense and raucous atmosphere every time it go out there. It's about 10,000 there. So it's not one of these small arenas. And I just see the same result again. I think it's a massive plus that, when you've been in with he's a big puncher. That doesn't change. And I think the fact that Avanesian has probably took the best shots previously, I think unless he was nursing some sort of injury, Leharaga, then I don't see the result being any different. What's also interesting is that it wasn't an immediate rematch, and Leharaga fought that Luis Solis, and he went up to 154. So if it doesn't work out in this fight, which I think they were always keen to avenge the loss, then I wouldn't be shocked to see him jump up to 154 and start again of sorts. That saying, I don't remember him massively to be in a huge welterweight. I didn't look at him and think, he's going to be tight at the weight from memory. But that's going to be an opportunity for him as well. But I think there's a reason that Avanesian was more than happy to take the rematch relatively quickly, and I see the same outcome again.
MB in the chat, Aussie says respect to Leharaga for pushing for the rematch. So at least he wants to prove, it was a wrong or giving him his opportunity.
Yeah, and like I said, I speak to Carl Greaves quite a bit, and he was nothing but complimentary. The Spanish team said they treat everybody excellent over there, and they were more than happy to honour the rematch because they were not gifted an opportunity, but they were given the opportunity. Particularly after, the farce. I think this opportunity came just after the Josh Kelly fiasco.
Avanesian a bitch move.
Yeah, he was a bit in limbo, wasn't he? I think there was talk about him going out to America and, no longer, or maybe jacking in boxing altogether. And this opportunity came up, and it just shows what a funny game boxing can be. Like, look, they look dead and buried because they've been fucked over by Kelly. Next thing, they're the European champion, and it's Kelly who was talking up the fight again. So, no, I mean, fair play to Laraya. I think props for wanting the rematch. But for me, I just feel that Avanesian will again have too much, and I think he will get him out of there again, to be honest. Similar sort of fight, probably mid to late round stoppage.
I agree. I think that Leharaga might try and box and be a bit more conservative early on, try and hold in his gas tank, but Avanesian will take over and maybe stop him at the 10th or 11th round.
Yeah, he didn't strike me as that sort of fighter, like it'd be like telling Sam Eggington to box, like basically he's not that sort of fighter, and he'd always be battling with himself not to get like into a bit of a tear up. And it'd be holding back, and I think that could be basically go against him. And I think, look, Avanesian, he's not a huge one punch KO artist, but he hits hard enough, and he's got Laharaya out of there before. And like we say, Steve, we both think it'll happen again.
Absolutely, I agree. Donny's little thing has popped back up again, so welcome back to you, Donny. Good to have you with us. I want your opinions on this big YouTube fight that's going on, not that particularly, but Billy Joe Saunders on the undercard. They're talking about Saunders getting in this bigger profile, and maybe Gabe Rosardo's the opponent. I'm hearing now this Australian Rowan Murdoch might go in against him. Donny, do you think that it's a good move to get Haney and Billy Joe Saunders on the undercard? Do you think that it's a cash grab, that nobody has any interest in this YouTube fight, and once it takes place, they I will in a minute, Ozzy, sorry. Once it takes place on the pay-per-view, sorry, my head's gone away here, between KSI and that other fella, do you think it will grow the sport, or is Eddie Hearn just looking to get a bit of cash in the bank? Donny, sorry, it's for you.
Pardon, Donny.
You with us, Don?
He's unmuted. Oh no, he's now just put himself on mute.
No, what threw me for six was your little left hook there, Ozzy. I'm happy to give you the credit. I actually saw it on the BoxRec forum though, so I was trying to work out what you were saying at first. I didn't realise that you'd broken that. But go ahead on the Saunders against Murdoch.
Well, I thought it was I thought it was going to be in against Rosado. I got told a while ago that one Hearn was putting the show on of this KSI and Logan Paul, and then the plan was to put Billy Joe Saunders and Devin Haney on the undercard. I think it will be sold as, to get the profile out there to, casual fans, if you were to say. But I don't even think the people who are going to go to this fight are fans of boxing. The fans of KSI and Logan Paul. And for Billy Joe Saunders, I mean, we're going to put him in with Gabe Rosado, who can take a shot, and Saunders isn't a massive puncher, and I thought it would have been an absolutely horrendous fight for him. Who did you say it was called? The Australian lad now, what's his name?
Rowan Murdoch, I read.
I've seen him before, I'm sure. Who's he fought?
He fought on a top rank card at one point.
That's it.
I looked all this up before, and I can't remember what it was now.
20,
it was on
20,
the Gilberto Ramirez Habib Ahmed undercard.
I mean, I'm just looking at his record now. It's an absolute disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. How this guy is potentially in the running to fight for a world title is just laughable. And I mean, he's not boxed in nearly basically 10 months, and that was a win over for the vacant WBO Oriental Super Middleweight title against Rolando Wenceslao Mansilla. So yeah, that well-known fighter from Argentina, and now he's going to be pulled in to fight Billy Joe Saunders, which makes complete sense because Saunders will probably blast this guy out of there. 24-1, 17 KO, so they'll big him up as like a threatening big puncher, number one super middleweight in Australia, but in reality, absolute shite and probably cheap as well. I was going to say that Angulo's probably going to get lined up to fight Saunders in a couple of fights. If Angulo can get another win, roll him out one more time, beef up that Saunders record. But
Murdoch be like that kid they bought in for Bivol that time. Do you remember in Monaco?
Oh yeah, and he got iced.
Trent Singleton.
Yeah, something. He got absolutely annihilated, didn't he? Look, Saunders was mocked for some of the garbage that he fought under Frank. A couple of the 160 defences, but this is just this is fodder. This is rubbish. I'd be disappointed if this guy was brought over to fight someone like Liam Williams. Never mind, Billy Joe Saunders. It's absolute shite. And as for Saunders, we've spoken about him before. I don't think it matters who promotes him. He gained a bit of momentum when he beat David Lemieux and then got himself into a whole, host of trouble, and the fight with Andrade was called off, and then nearly didn't fight when he came back at the back end of the year on that Warrington card because he was heavy. Then he wins a vacant title at 168 against Shefat Isufi, more fodder. He leaves Warren, for Pastors New, and they were talking up the Callum Smith fight, and now we're going to see him in with Rohan Murdoch. So, look, if it's one of them from where he rattles off 3 defences to get him active, fine. But it's certainly very underwhelming, to say the least. And will Billy Joe Saunders against Rohan Murdoch pull in new fans? For me, no. I think the fans that are going to be going to this are going because they love KSI and Logan Paul, not because they like boxing.
Jason Chuckweir in the chat said they should make Billy Joe Saunders against Jared Fletcher too. Yeah, he might be coming over as Jared Fletcher type fodder. This guy's from the same land anyway. Final question from our Patreon friends. D-Dog threw a good one in. When will the Italian lightweight legend Emiliano Marsili, 38-0-1, get a world title shot? He iced Derry Matthews on mainstream TV back in 2012. I remember that. I can't remember. He says mainstream TV. I thought it was Box Nation, but it might have been ITV. He's 43 now anyway, Marsili. And since that fight against Derry Matthews, he has a load of wins. Back in Milan against, Hungarian opponents. His last opponent was 10 wins, 11 losses. He won the European title, IBO title as well at one point. I'm not sure he's ever going to get a world title shot, D-Dog, but yeah, Marsili, I'd forgotten all about that guy. Jason Chuckweir, it's just dawned on him that Angulo beat Quillin. That was last night, sir. Go and look it up. It was a decent scrap by all accounts. Gabe, let's bring you in before we go over to the London card. I want to get your thoughts on a few of the fights on the undercard. That is Errol Spence Jr. against Sean Porter, pay-per-view, California. Praise be to Al Heyman. Some good undercard scraps. Lindolfo Delgado, Gabe, keep an eye on this guy. He's 10-0. He's fighting against Jesus Anaya. I put up his fight against James Roach Jr. on the Patreon there. He's a real puncher, picks his shots nicely. Definitely one to look out for. Also 11-0, Leon Lawson III. If he's in any trouble, then maybe Leon Lawson I can jump in the fight, bail him out and throw a few punches. Robert Guerrero still selling tickets, still fighting against Jerry Thomas, 14-1-1. And also, Gabe, finally, your opinion on Josecito Lopez, 36 wins, 8 losses, going in against John Molina Jr., 30 wins, 8 losses. This is classic PBC fare, isn't it? In the Angulo Quillin mould, Lopez against Molina. What do you think about that then?
Hey, I think that has the Lopez Molina fight specifically has a good chance to be one of the top fights of the evening. Look, I've been a big outspoken fan of John Molina for some time. I thought he had some really good fights. He had a really bad loss to Tony DeMarco back in the day. This was years ago now. But first round stoppage where he didn't go down, and Jack Reese, I believe it was, waved the fight off. It probably should have gave him a standing 8 count, but it was one of those things that just kind of happened. He comes in to fight. He's had a few bad performances. He's had some really good performances. He's a kind of guy that blocks punches with his face. He typically doesn't do a whole lot of defending. He always seems game to fight whenever the time comes. So, and Josecito Lopez, the kid always has been just an underrated, overlooked opponent type fighter. And he's coming in. It could be, honestly, this could be one of the top fights of the evening. I'm not saying these guys are both next in line to be unified world champions, but in terms of a matchup on paper, this one makes a lot of sense. If you are looking to add a valuable fight that's going to, be the action that fans are looking for, because although on paper the main event, Spence and Porter, appears to be pretty promising, John Porter is not fun to watch. He's not pleasing to the eye. He's ugly. He brawls. He mauls. He uses headbutts, lots of clinches, fighting really on the inside, fighting out of clinches. So, you have David Benavidez on there who really, pardon me, should bring in some value to that card too. But, this one on there, it's looking up to be a good matchup. I think Josecito Lopez should be able to outbox John Molina. But if he gets dragged into a war, it could be John Molina's evening. I'm really not so down on this card from top to bottom. There's always.
I think it's a good card. I think it's good.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's good. David Benavidez is one of my favorite fighters currently, just because he comes in and he's very free-flowing with his combinations, lets his hands go, plays enough defense, but not so much that you would ever, in any situation, call him a defensive fighter. I think that one, to me, is looking like a good fight, because even though that we typically assume that Anthony Durrell is probably past his best fights, you got to remember, he's only had one loss, and he's been a pretty good fighter over his career. I know that not everyone's a big fan of him, but I certainly think he's shaped up to be quite the fighter, more so than his brother ever thought about being. So from top to bottom, I'm really actually liking this card. Robert Guerrero, though, I don't know what he's doing. Why don't you just go off and spend your Floyd money and have a good day? Some of the other stuff on there, maybe not things I'm really super excited about. I see that I believe Marcos Maidana's brother is supposed to be on the card too.
What happened to Marcus himself, Gabe? Did they come back?
Well, he had planned it, and I think everything was set up to go with it. And then, from what I understand, there was some difficulties in getting the advances to pay for, I guess, training and all that stuff. And there was some hesitance on the part of the PBC crew to pay those advances. And so he didn't want to pay for it out of his own pocket. And then from there, they didn't want to put up a whole bunch of money for a guy in probably his shape for him to bail out of the fight, at the last minute, because he either wasn't ready or whatever. Because I think in that situation, it may be a lost cause trying to get that back. But I think overall, he did have intentions to come back. I think the logistics of all of it just kind of didn't work out. And it's something that we always don't think about, whenever we're talking about camps and those kind of things. But, if he's flying over here to Robert Garcia's gym, there's a plane ticket to California. He's got to pay Garcia. Garcia ain't doing that shit out of the goodness of his heart. They're going to pay sparring to come in. They have all these funds. They're going to have to pay for a place for him to stay while he's in California. So I think all those things get kind of overlooked sometimes. But I think from what I understand in the interview, he didn't want to pay for it out of his own pocket. But PBC was hesitant to give him that money as an advance. Partially, I guess, out of $5 million for his next fight, if that's what they paid him, they would just give him an advance of $1.5 million. And then he would have paid for everything out of that advance. So I think that's kind of what happened with him not coming back. But, if his brother's even half the fighter that he was, then he should be at least somewhat entertaining. I haven't seen a lot of him, so I couldn't say for sure. But I'm really excited about the Darrell Benavidez fight and the Lopez Molina fight, and of course, the main event is what we're all wanting to see in terms of maybe not the exact fight, I guess I should say, but top fighters fighting other top fighters. I mean, look, if anybody's foolish enough to think that we're going to get Spence and Crawford, you're dreaming. But this is going to be one of those fights that we get that is going to be a good time filler in the meantime. I mean, if we're not going to get that fight, why not have this one? I like Errol Spence to win it. I'm sure we'll go discussion on this further, but I'll go ahead and give you my thoughts on it. It kind of depends on how Porter decides to fight, how the fight will go. I think everything rests on him because I think Errol Spence is adaptable enough to counter whatever he does. So if Porter tries to box from the outside, I think he gets picked apart. And Spence has an easy night, comes out pretty clean. If Porter rushes in, I think it's going to give Spence a little bit more opportunity to beat the shit out of him and to eventually put him down, possibly late in the fight. I don't know that he'll knock Sean Porter out. Sean Porter's a tough son of a bitch, and I think that at the end of it, we're looking at a 12-round fight. But I would say, depending on how Porter fights, Spence response, I don't see him not ever having an adequate answer to anything that Porter does, rather. I think it should be a good card, really, all the way around.
Definitely looking forward to it, Andy, getting the old downloads on the Sunday morning. Before you go on to the main event, which you obviously feel free to speak about, Mario Barrios against Beta Akhmedov is quite an interesting one. Akhmedov is one of these Uzbeks, 7-0, 6 knockouts, but I think he's one of the ones that's going to fall off the radar, and they're throwing him in to get fed to Barrios. I like the look of Barrios against Richard Zamora, got rid of Velasco as well, really good body puncher. Akhmedov went the distance with Ricky Sismundo. The late Maxim Dadashev blasted him out in 4 rounds. I think that's a good gauge. Akhmedov's record doesn't really blow me away. I think they're taking a chance here, and 24-0 PBC prospect Barrios, well, say prospect, he's fighting for the vacant WBA title. He ain't been bought in to fight against Akhmedov to lose the fight. I think that Barrios is going to get rid of him probably in the later rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with his knockout of Velasco, actually, who I think he either went the distance with Prograis or he went late in the fight with Prograis, I'm sure. So that's what really kind of like, piqued my interest in him in that as well. And I agree with you, actually. Akhmedov, I've not seen much of him. I do know there was a bit of controversy about him when he went to win the Olympics, not under another country. But yeah, I think at this point it might be that he's turned pro too late. But I really like the look at Barrios, and I'm going to say he's going to actually do it and do it looking good. I'm going to say he's going to do it by 7th round stoppage or something like that. But he's saying that's how impressed I am with this kid at the minute.
And as for Durrell, I always said if you could roll the two Durrell brothers into one, you'd have one hell of a fighter, because Anthony isn't as slick and as athletically gifted as his brother, but I think he's tough, and he might, I think he might go the distance with Benavidez. I know Benavidez is I saw him up close and personal on the Frampton undercard, and he is an absolutely massive dude, but he's had problems outside of the ring. He had his issues with, wasn't it Ronald Gavril at times as well, so I think Durrell might hang around in this one.
But he turned it over in the rematch, didn't he? Kind of like outpointed the guy or outschooled him or whatever it was. But what was his issue outside? Was this the one that got done for the drugs?
Coke, yeah.
No, was this the one?
It was on the coke guy.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Anthony Durrell's like, again, he's like a bit like Badou Jack, and he does enough just not to win a fight sometimes, or am I thinking about the wrong person here? Who am I thinking about? Because he's only got the one defeat, isn't he?
Who are you talking about?
Sorry, I'm thinking about Badou Jack actually. Just Anthony Durrell and that, he's in with these names.
Yeah, that was his. Yeah, Badou Jack beat Durrell, didn't he? And the draw was against Beaker, wasn't it? Or did he lose? No, he's only lost one, so the draw must have been against Beaker. Yeah.
He lost in the Gale, didn't he?
Was there no some sort of controversy about the Yildirim fight, his last one?
Yeah, the Yildirim thought he was winning, and it ended up on some kind of technical decision. I think the heads clashed, didn't they?
Yeah, because I think Yildirim was like something like 6 points clear in one of the cards, and he was losing by 2 points in the other 2 cards and that, so it was just...
That's right.
Some right bullshit there, like. And plus as well, he's got Dennis Duglin on his record, and he got Namasapati and things like that. Come on.
Andy's not fussed on that. What about the main event then, Andy? Gabe's already laid down what he thinks about it.
It's going to be a good fight. that's going to be a good fight. Dirrell's a solid fighter. I think you want to give him much credit, and I think he doesn't get a lot of credit from a lot of people because he doesn't have a lot of spectacular, big standout, beautiful, eye-catching kind of fights. But he's a solid fucking guy, and I think he could upset the apple cart on this one. I think they're looking for Benavidez to be the winner, but I don't put it past Dirrell to put one on him.
I don't think he'll upset the apple cart, but I think he'll go the distance. Like I said, he's a solid guy. But on to the main event, Andy. I think Sean Porter will be made for Spence. He's going to be walking into those combinations non-stop. And could you see an accumulation stoppage for Spence, Andy, or do you think that Porter will be able to see out the distance, or how do you see it going?
I could definitely see it go the distance, without doubt. I know Porter can talk all the shit that he wants and stuff. I dare say will bring it, but he's just that awful style to watch, and that it's just. I think again, Spence is one of the fighters that kind of warms into a fight and stuff. I think the odds, the odds are saying that he's obviously Spence is the clear favourite and that. So, but you never know. We've had upsets this year already, and that might be the year upset and that. But I just think, considering that he's at his best weight class, Spence. Maybe slightly struggling to make the weight and that, but he's a big dude for the weight. Some people will question other things and stuff like that, but he's a very, very good technician. Far better, far gifted than what Sean Porter brings to the table, who just brings that kind of NFL style rugby tackle, just bore his way forward and stuff, and just throw wing, looping wide hooks and stuff, and hopefully, basically hope for the best. I can see Spence just basically stepping in about him and just pinging him with left hands all night long, and I don't think it'll be like a one-punch knockout, as you say. It's probably going to be an accumulation, or probably just like build it up, and just like work the body, maybe stop him that way. But Porter's generally tough and durable in that, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it go a distance. I'm going to say Spence will win it widely on points actually, because I've seen enough of Porter to suggest that he will make it ugly, he will make it rough, and I just don't see him getting stopped. In all honesty, he's just a tough guy. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I was thinking of Porter as maybe an upgrade on Lamont Peterson, but he is tough. A 117, 111 type of score, maybe even a 1-18, 110. I can see Spence winning most of the rounds, but ultimately he will win. Rob, Spence shows plenty of spite in the ring. He's shown a bit of spite outside as well, bit of slagging going on at the press conference. Errol was saying about Porter's losses to Thurman and Brook, and about the fact that he had a tough fight with Adrian Granados. He was labelling these all as reasons for Porter not being able to step up to that next level, which we all think Spence is at.
Yeah, well, he's speaking of facts, isn't he? I don't know. I think about Spence. I've been thinking about this fight, and as it's been coming up, and I haven't seen Spence look bad once in a fight over the last 3 years. Right? Brook gave him a bit of trouble, but overcame that, smashed Brook up, and ever since then, he's just been dominating the guys he's fighting. Obviously, the Garcia fight was a mismatch from the start, so it was hard to read anything into that, but I think technically he's just going to be way too much for Sean Porter. I wouldn't rule out Porter as big as a detractor of him that I am. I wouldn't rule him out making a really good go of it, in that trying his best within his own abilities to make it a good fight. Between him, the dad's a bit of a banger, man. I wouldn't rule out some kind of bizarre game plan coming into play at some stage. Maybe Porter trying to box on the outside or something, maybe wear Spence down later on. But, I mean, certainly if he goes for his usual style of Greco-Roman wrestling, he's not going to have his way with Spence. He's a big guy, and he's a crisp counter-puncher. His punches always land very cleanly, and he knows when to go, just the right times when to go to work. So, I mean, he's a fucking sensational fighter. I'd echo Andy's sentiments about people having suspicion over him. I mean, this has been the talk for years, and as we know in boxing now, there's seldom smoke without fire. There is guys dedicating YouTube channels into investigating this kind of thing. I don't know enough about it. He hasn't failed the test, so we have to take him on his merit at the moment that he's clean. But he is a huge guy, but technically supreme. Maybe won't capture the wider boxing audience as much as a more flashy guy, a welterweight. I don't think he's that big of a talker that he's going to, bring in the masses. He's not flashy enough to kind of give you the highlight reel stuff either. So, but he is a really good fighter, and I'd expect he'd surely have enough to beat Sean Porter. Although if Sean Porter was to pull off the win, I wouldn't begrudge him it, because as much as I hate his style and I think that is a banger, he's there to fight, like, so we give him that much credit.
What about the undercard? Quick word on Durrell for you, Rob?
I'll give you a quick word on Durrell. No. More chance if Leon Lawson jumps in the ring. We should bring Leon in a tag team. Benavidez is good. I always like watching Benavidez. I think he's a really skilled guy. My beef with him really is not really with him or his promotional situation, is that we haven't, as good as he looks, we haven't seen him in against really any of the top guys at 68. He wasn't in the Super Series. He's been pissing about on the coke. His brother's a bit of a looper as well, like, isn't he? They're a bit wild, like, so you don't know what's going to happen. So he could potentially have wider appeal if he was matched against better guys. I don't think Durrell is going to bring out the best in him. So somehow I think it's going to be a kind of a cagey enough affair. I can't see Durrell letting it go, hang out there. I think he's going to try and box his way to it. So I'd say that's going to be a kind of boring fight, like. So less said about that one, the better.
Less said about that one, the better, says Rob. Coming to Donny shortly, he's back with us. Tosh in the chat says Porter will get disqualified for low blows and headbutts. You heard it here first. We'll come back to you, Tosh, next week on that one. Let's make a case then, Aussie, shall we, for Porter. He showed against Danny Garcia that he can adapt to a certain degree with his style. Against Ugas, though, I thought he was outboxed at range at times and also out-hustled on the inside, which is his game. Could you make a case for him to win it, Aussie? What would he have to do if he was to upset the apple cart?
Spence needs to be looking away and Porter catch him with a money shot. I just don't see what he can do to beat him. And that's not shooting down on Sean Porter. I just think Errol Spence is one of the top two welterweights in the division, and he's in at him and Terence Crawford are in a bracket, and then it's the rest of the lads, like quite a significant way under. Fair play to him for taking the fight. I mean, he'll be handsomely well paid. But he could have easily swerved it as well. So I've nothing against that. Look, he'll come to win. I don't think he's going to go into a shell, and just go down to a lame points defeat. I think he'll give it his all, but I think Spence will pick him off. I think Spence will do well to stop him. I would be surprised if he did of sorts. But I think it will be... I echo what a lot of people have said, to be honest. I think it will be not straightforward, because Porter's better than that, but I think it will be a very wide points win from where Spence will be made to work and work hard in the rounds, but he will always more than do enough to take them. But Porter will probably, take 2 or 3 rounds, perhaps early on as well.
What are you having for your dinner, Ozzy? Can you hear that fork scraping away?
Well, you've got bad ears, mate. I've got a toffee in my mouth. Right. That's all. There's no forks being used here.
Watch your fillings, mate.
Yeah. Careful on those fillings. Right, Donny, are you back with us?
I was just going to say a quick shout on the undercard as well. Very good.
Yes.
Very, very good. And this is what a pay-per-view should be. Very impressed with it. But I'm just on BoxRec now taking a look, and we were talking about, like PVC rolling out old washed fighters, and Robert Guerrero is making a return against 14-1 Jerry Thomas. So that's another corpse being rolled out for another payday. Who knows where we'll see him next if he can win.
Do you know what the thing is with Guerrero, Ozzy? Apparently he sells tickets, I heard.
Really?
Yeah, he shifts tickets. People come along the West Coast to watch him.
Parking tickets.
There you go. Remarkable, isn't it?
That's crazy. He's a born-again Christian. I wonder are the born-again Christian dollars coming out to support him. Maybe that's what it is.
How does that happen, by the way? How does that happen? How do you become a born-again Christian again? Because I've never fucking met Jesus on the corner of the fucking main street before.
Well, it's different with some people become born again Christians and then they don't box anymore. Remember Bobby Vanzi? He became a Jehovah's Witness and he started up a window cleaning business and said he didn't want to box anymore. Got Yuri Foreman as well. He quit to become a rabbi, didn't he? And said that he couldn't, keep punching people. It wasn't. Yeah,
look at George Foreman.
Strange.
the night he got beat up Jimmy Young in Puerto Rico and stuff like that, he said he'd seen Jesus in his dressing room, right? But the difference is, what the fuck was Jesus doing in Puerto Rico on a Wednesday night, and it was humid and stuff like that? Yeah? Seriously.
Hey, listen, I go to Puerto Rico any day of the week.
So would I.
Jesus maybe getting his hands wrapped.
Jesus Christ.
That's a bad one, isn't it?
Okay,
I'm quite pleased with that. Just thought of it, Rob. Just thought of it. Wait, where was I anyway? Donny, are you still with us? Oh God, this place. Donny.
Yeah, I'm here.
Ah, good, Donny. Tell us about Porter against Spence, because I believe in the chat you were picking Porter. Tell us more.
Donny, did you let the middle finger linger, eh?
Wait, I didn't
let it linger.
I believe that's the cranberries.
There you go.
Cleopatra style now, eh? Cleopatra, eh? Fucking feeding her the grapes and the
Coming at you.
cranberries. You got a bad period or something like that?
Fucking hell. Get us back to Porter against Garcia. No, not Garcia. Who's he fighting again?
No, Spence.
Yeah, that's the one. Go on, Don.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, this should be quick work for Spence, I think. Actually, I'm sorry, let me rephrase it. It won't be quick work. Porter is tough as nails. And if he's shown anything, he's shown a good chin. And I don't think he will get him out of there easy. However, I think that, this is a classic boxing story of one guy who's on the decline and one guy who is just about ready to hit his peak. And Spence was kind of starving for a name, another name to notch on his resume. And this is the best name available. And he's going to take this, he's going to take his name and he's going to notch his belt. And, he's going to, perform the way we all know he's capable of performing. I mean, Errol Spence is in rarefied air. He's just, he's a cut above, most fight. Him, Canelo, Crawford, Lomachenko. These guys don't breathe the same air as other boxers. They're just on another level. And I expect a performance that is going to, sort of indicate that to the general public.
Yes, I think we're all unanimous then in our decisions. Let's go around the panel and see who's going for what. Donny, just before you mute yourself there, so you're going for Spence on points, I believe so?
Actually, I'm going to take him by a late stoppage. I think there could be an accumulation where maybe Porter's father pulls him out.
Porter's father might pull him out, Rob. I'm tempted to go for the sort of 10th, 11th round KO. I can see Porter getting a right beating. I might do. You could see Kenny turning up, couldn't you? And throwing in the towel there, but beating enough to get him stopped, Rob, or is he going to see the distance?
No, I could see it. Yeah, I could definitely see it. Like I said, Spence is such a clean and crisp puncher that he and his punches, a lot of his punches are straight. And I think Porter's head movement, he'll be there for him, and he's going to be there on the way in if he chooses to fight in that style. Like I said, I do think he's going to try box on the outside for some reason, but I don't think that's going to work for him, and he'll end up reverting to the more come forward style. And I could see him getting stopped, yeah, definitely in the last third of the fight. I could see him definitely getting dropped along the way anyway, just off of accuracy even. I could definitely see him hit the deck.
Yeah, because see, to be honest, look at the Broner fight, for example. It did get caught late. Well, I think it was a left hook, actually.
Yeah.
He can be caught and he can be dropped, but I'm going for points. So I'm going to go Spence wide in points, like 118, 110, 117, 111 type scorecard.
117, 111, yeah. I agree with you, Andy. I'm thinking about that as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if Porter didn't get sliced up. What about you, Gabe?
Same. I'm going to go 117, 111.
Unanimous for Spence then. Sorry, just messing about with the microphones levels there, so you can all hear me before we go on to Bellew of the weeks. Go on, Rob.
No, I'd say I think it was Donny said, or Gabe actually, that Crawford Spence is not going to happen. I think if you see Spence come through this and he looks like we think he's going to look, they're just going to keep a PBC for the foreseeable. They've laid their cards on the table. Like, you're not seeing this Crawford fight, no chance.
Indeed, Ozzy, we are. Yo, go on, Don.
No, I was just going to ask. I mean, is Crawford Spence the Mayweather Pacquiao of our generation?
Mayweather Pacquiao was your generation.
Well, you know what I mean. Of the present moment. I mean, is there any more? Is there any fight in boxing that I think sort of cries out to be made more than that? I can't think of one.
At the minute,
well, everybody wants to see it. I mean,
well,
at the moment, it was the
fights,
heavyweights. Yeah.
Apart from the heavyweights and stuff like that, and maybe a couple of fights at light heavyweight, like Beterbiev, Kovalev. Well, I'm happy with Beterbiev, Kovalev, for example, but we took forever to get
the one that didn't happen.
We took forever to get Golovkin in a big fight, didn't we? Canelo, for example. Took forever to get that fight.
Yep.
So about
and
time,
looking back at that fight, I just rewatched it actually. Looking back at it, I could see Don Trent Sr.'s draw card more when I watch it back. But anyway, Lomachenko versus Garcia, that's one we missed. I think that would have been a top level fight, especially at 35 when you see how Lomachenko's had difficulty more so at 35 than anywhere else. That if he had fought Michael Garcia in his prime at 35, would have been a really, really good fight. Like, we're never going to see that now.
Yeah, no, that would have been something else. Yeah. But,
Ozzy, I'm coming to you now on the BT Sport card. I was just saying before we go on to Bellew of the Weeks, we'll definitely cover this. Max Stoke was saying to me earlier, spend a bit more time on the Dubois card. Well, all I can say is sorry, Max. We're at 10 o'clock already, and we haven't done the Bellew of the Weeks yet. But we'll get on to it now, Ozzy. 12-0 Daniel Dubois. Sorry, the old throat's going now. Vacant Commonwealth title against Ebenezer Tete. We don't really know too much about this guy. 19-0, 16 knockouts. Could be the next Richard Lartey. Could be a decent opponent. Flyweight Nicola Adams is going in for the WBO title. I think she won that out of the ring. Anyway, against Maria Salinas. Archie Sharp was supposed to fight Declan Geraghty. Don't see Declan's name on the list now. Denzel Bentley, former friend of the pod, going in against Kelsey Ball, Willie Hutchinson, a few of the usual suspects. Speak about the undercard if you want, Ozzy. But it's all about Daniel Dubois. We are unanimous that we're a big fan of Big Dan on this pod.
Yes, I'll start with the undercard quickly, and it's a bit disappointing, to be honest. I mean, they were out at York Hall about 3 weeks ago, and I always think it's difficult to go, back to back in London in such a short space of time. And the York Hall card was very good and enjoyable, and I just feel this is lacking a couple of better fights that just fill it out a little bit. I mean, Bentley's in. It looks like somewhat of a step up against Kelsey Ball, 10-1. Geraghty is fighting sharp. I saw Geraghty put some posts out saying, basically he's all set and things like that. So I don't know what's gone on wrong.
Oh, good.
Gone there.
Yep.
That's not bad. I mean, Geraghty's one of them. I got told he was really good as an amateur, and he's just not made the transition. Stepping up to domestic level, like gets a bit showboaty at times and doesn't look like he can take a shot, to be honest. It's not a bad fight, though. I always feel Geraghty can pose problems for people. And Sharp, I mean, he's done everything he's asked for, and he's looked good in doing it as well. So I'm more than happy for a contest like that. The usual suspects are out on the undercard. 3 lads making the debuts, a couple of others. I'm hoping this is the last knockover job we're going to see of Willie Hutchinson. And then he's going to make a step up because he'll be 10-0 after he wins on Saturday. And I mean, this lad is the real deal as well, by all accounts. So let's start to see it. Nicola Adams couldn't give a toss about. Could not care whatsoever. Boring. I think she's on this cooking show as well. No one gives a fuck about her. And I won't care if she retired after this. She adds no value to that card whatsoever. And going to the top of the bill, and it's Daniel Dubois against Ebenezer Tete, 19-0 Ghanaian. I would suspect Dubois going to get rid of him out of there in pretty emphatic fashion, as he's done in all but one of his contests. And this fight is not for the opponent. It's more about picking up another belt. They're billing him, about like every belt. He wants to pick up every belt on the way. So he started off. He's won the English Southern Area. He's British champion. He's Commonwealth champion. And if he can do all of that within 13 fights, then fair play. I don't mind the way he's being matched, to be honest. Look, there's better opponents out there than this Tete guy, but this is for a PR, not stunt, but PR act, because it's another belt that they can attach to him, and it opens up a few more options. And if Dubois keeps getting these highlight knockouts, he's slowly building like a bit of support, and a bit of traction, and he's going to get the supporters for him. So I suspect he'll come through with ease. He looked excellent against Nathan Gorman, and I suspect he'll look very good against this Tete as well. It then puts him at, subject to him winning, it'll put him at 13-0, and I'm always intrigued by the way they're going to go with him next, because you forget, I think he's only 22. And he's done everything he's asked for him, and I think in this day and age there's a huge, need and urge from boxing fans to somewhat rush fighters through, because they're on mainstream TV. It's not like years ago, where you'd have people built, like getting to 20-0 potentially, 25-0, and then fighting for a British title. That's long gone now. I just hope they don't rush him, because look, he's got all the potential to be, to challenge the guys at the top. So keep bringing him along steadily. I don't really want to see any more of these Tete-like caliber opponents, but if they keep notching up the levels once they've got this Commonwealth title and then building towards a European title shot, then, like we've said before, there's lots to like about Daniel Dubois.
Yeah, a couple of notes from the undercard. Fons Alexander, I noticed he's joined the 100 club. He's 7-101-0 now. Is Fons Alexander. Jonathan Pilata as well, 6-0 heavyweight. A few people are on that train. Andy, I like the way Dubois is going on about his business. He got rid of old Nathan Gorman in the last fight. It's a bit of a step down in terms of this opponent. We don't really know who he is. But there's always this bit of intrigue, isn't there, with these guys like Walter Cork and Dokwa, and you always think to yourself, Tete, he could be a unit, 19-0, 16 knockouts. He could be shit and fall over, but he could come over and just bang somebody out like a Jackson Asiku from back in the day.
Yes, shit.
Come on, Andy, let's have some hope. He could come into the business.
Oh, well, I shared some of his fights there last night. Looked like he was taking part in the back room somewhere, some fucking seconds out gym or the Napoleon boxing complex, Knacker or whatever it is and stuff. He's no fault anybody. I've just pulled up his record there, right? And honestly, man, it's just that it's a who's who of fucking whodunits. It's just absolute shit. George, he's went the distance here with a guy called George Amuzu, right, for the Ghanaian cruiserweight title. He won at 120-108 across two scorecards, 120-105 in the third. If you look at it in base of records, his best opponent would be a Boniface Kaburu of 20-4. Right, he knocked the guy out in 2 rounds for a WBO Africa heavyweight title. Right, the fight's on YouTube for all you old guys who want to go and see it. I'm imagining it would be fantastic to sit and watch a 2-round blowout of this shit. But Dubois, as you say, he's going to put his business, quietly. Not the greatest talker, but he's, for what I've been listening to, some other podcasts, that he does seem to be kind of gradually coming out of his shell, especially if he gets probed the right way. Other than that, I don't know what they're going to do with him, actually. I suspect that he's going to knock him out. I think he'll do it maybe about 5-6 rounds. From what I remember, Tete, he is quite a tall guy in that, but as I say, the very, very small footage, and there is a lot of footage out there at Tete, and what I've seen him, it's very, very small, and because I can't be arsed and watching him. He looks sloppy, he just looks shit, and I expect Dubois to deal with him pretty handily, as I say, probably when he wants, maybe wants like a couple of rounds in, but I'll say maybe within 5 rounds. I'll be shocked if it goes beyond anything beyond that, and if he pulls off the upset, I'll not be doing this podcast anymore because I just look like a prick.
No upset for Andy. Yeah, the Seconds Out Boxing Gym, great venue there. I noticed in Pakistan next week there's a show going on and the location is billed as the football stadium near the cricket ground. So
yeah,
anybody who wants any tickets, get on down there, the football stadium near the cricket ground in Pakistan. If you want to see some action, Ozzy.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, the urge to book flights is nagging at me again. I mean,
You don't know where to go. That's the only problem.
Well, imagine just walking down the street and going, yeah, I'm just looking for, the football pitch near the cricket ground. Can you show me where? So yeah, a brilliant venue, and no doubt that it's on Eddie's hit list to take big time boxing over there in the near future. But I was just going to ask, while we're on Dubois quickly. I mean, I think we all suspect he'll come through with ease on Saturday. But who do we think he'll be matched with next? I mean, by that point, it'll be British and Commonwealth champion. But where do you think they'll go? I mean, I'm looking at just BoxRec quickly, and I mean, a lot of the top 20 are tied up, to be honest. But it's not pretty reading. But I haven't got a clue who they're going to look to put him in with. What about you lot?
Who's the
I don't think they'll rush him. It was Caballel, but he vacated, and I think Joyce is fighting someone for the vacant, isn't he?
There's no opponent yet. They're trying to get Alexander Povetkin, and they're trying hard for it.
I don't think they'll rush Dubois, Ozzy. I think they could put him in another defence or something, of the British or something like that.
No, they're trying to get... I was going to say they're trying to get Povetkin for Joyce, not for...
Oh, right, okay.
Dubois, sorry.
It would be really nice if they got Joyce and Dubois together, though.
I would set Dubois in that fight.
I would. Maybe a Dominic Brazil, a big old lump who he could punch lumps in and maybe get the 12-round distance.
I would say it's a big step up, though, that.
Oh, no, I mean like 3 or 4 fights down the line. I think they're going to keep him slow at the moment, yeah.
I mean, if I was him, I would try and get him... if I was Dubois, I'd try and look at David Price. What's he got? 3 wins on the spin now. Still well known, very well known to the public, and you can get another highlight knockout on your record.
Dude, David Price needs to start worrying about fucking CTE at this point. I mean, how many times can somebody
good shout.
Iced?
Yeah, good shout on that.
Dubois, Otto Wallin has been mentioned in the chat.
But again, I would say, would just say it's a big step up, really. One that crossed my mind for potentially Dubois or Joyce, Marco Huck.
Marco Huck, is he still going? Yeah.
Marco Huck, boxed earlier this year. Big name for the record.
When's he fighting next? Or when did he last fight?
Earlier this year, I think back in March, April time.
Fuck me.
I mean, that's a complete, like punt that, but it's a name, from where you can build somebody against him. Particularly someone like Dubois as well. Look, if you go on Doom, I know it's a shadow of what Marco Huck was, but in your 14th fight, it's not the worst caliber of opponent to be going in with, to say the least.
Frank could bring back Richard Lartey. He's probably got options on him, I'd say, if he's got any sense anyway.
Well, if Ebenezer Tete impresses and falls but ultimately gets beat, I'm just waiting for Lartey Tete coming to the copper box in the near future.
Exactly. In the chat, Frezequendo. Get Frez in.
Frezequendo.
I was going to say about Frez, yeah.
Yeah, Frez, yeah. Look, the opportunity might come then. Frank dishing out opportunities for Frez. Frez, Ebenezer and Richard Lartey.
Absolutely. What a triumvirate that would be. Rob, people are sleeping on Ebenezer Tete. In 2012, if you dig back down the record, he went in against Norton 2, Razak Agorza in the prison canteen. You can't write off this guy.
No, he's good. He's a good. Ebenezer good. Yeah. Bring that one back. No, hopefully he comes in as a go at Dubois. Gives it a big effort. Maybe he can punch a bit and show him something different. But I'd expect Dubois to walk through him, especially based on the Gorman fight. I like about Dubois that he's good at taking instructions. He was getting it in the corner saying, relax, the knockout's going to come, and he went out next round, just took his time, picked him off. Brilliant. Definitely watch him again after that. So yeah, I'd say he's going to just pick up a belt and keep building up momentum. I think when it comes to the top heavyweights, from what I've seen so far from him, I definitely could trouble him with punching wise, all of them. But I think he might be just on the small side, but I don't know. But definitely interested to see where he's going to go. Exciting prospect.
Absolutely. Any interest from you, Gabe, from across the pond? Have you seen anything of Dubois? If not, it's okay. Gabriel?
Gabe's doing his rounds with his shotgun just now. Make America great again.
Gabe shooting the head off rattlesnakes.
I'll tell you what the fucking problem is.
He caught Donnie in the bushes. Around about Nantucket.
I'm
gonna shoot a bare ass.
The masters of
poking out them damn bushes.
All right, his last call. Cut him off.
Yeah. Anything from you, Don? What did you say about Dubois? Have you seen anything of him? Any interest?
Yeah, I like Daniel Dubois a lot. I know he only has the 13 fights, but I'm highly impressed with what I've seen. And actually, I mean, I know that the thing is that Frank is doing a good job building him, but I kind of wish he would just fight a little bit more frequently. He is young. I don't mind guys fighting like knockover jobs or things like that as long as they're staying active. And some of those journeymen you can learn things from too. I mean, they always have like one particular attribute that stands out. And so you can get a guy who's really durable, or a guy who has good head movement, or a guy who's got a really good job or something, but is otherwise incomplete as a fighter. And we look at it as knockover jobs, but really you're building a fighter when you have him fight those journeymen. I just wish that if they're gonna bring him along slow, I just wish he'd fight a little bit more frequently and keep him active. But other than that,
it's his fourth fight this year, Don.
Pardon?
It's his fourth fight this year.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know that, but I mean, like, at the point where you have 13 fights, and sometimes guys fight once every 2 months when they're that early in their career. I don't know, but he's
at British and Commonwealth title level now, so he's not sort of. I see what you mean, but he's not like down at that 5-6 fights in the first year stage. He's at 13 fights and he's at British level, so it's not quite the early stages still.
No, you're right, yeah, and that's the other thing is that. Jim Jacobs was once interviewed when they were talking about Tyson, and they were like, "Well, why don't you, step up his level of opponents?" And and this was like very early in his career, and they said, some people think we're bringing along too fast, like fighting so frequently. Other people think that we're not bringing along fast enough, that he's clearly superior all to these people. And he said the thing is though is that once you crack the top 10 in any division, you can't go back. In other words, once you crack that level, you can't go back. People are going to be looking for more and more and more, and that's what the public is going to expect. So I think they're being careful not to all the way go ahead and sort of crack that top 10, because once you do, you can't go back. You put yourself in the conversation. People are going to be talking about Joshua. People are going to be talking about a lot of the other top contenders. But I think eventually he will belong in that conversation.
Yes, once you get there, you can't go back. We were only talking about that the other week. Ken Buchanan going back down to British title level to fight Jim Watt after being at world level. But these days, you maybe can get a belt grab and then have a few easy defences. But you're right, once you get to a certain level, which is why I think they'll keep Dubois around British Commonwealth title level for the next couple of fights, because Frank, for all his faults, he knows how to pace a fighter, knows how to build up a fighter. That's one of his great strengths compared to other promotional entities. Eddie has his strengths as well, but for Frank, I think the fact he's able to build a fighter is one of his great strengths.
Yeah, Frank is kind of like in the same way that Bob Arum is in the United States. They both know how to build a fighter and take him along at the appropriate pace, and also how to make a star too. They both did, Frank did that with Khan. And Arum did that with De La Hoya and countless others. I like the way that both of those guys pace their fighters.
Yes, and finally, I think it's fair to say whenever Dubois does step up, it probably will be the WBO route. Warren and Bob's organisation, they love a WBO title. Right, so let us move on to the Bellew of the Weeks for episode 341. Quite a few on my list. I'm sure you guys have got a few as well. Gabe's still with us, so is Donny, Andy, Ozzy and Rob. Ready to rumble, Andy?
Oh, I've got a few.
Excellent. We'll be coming to you shortly. I'll just get through a few of the ones I've got. Starting off with Tim Waddy. Dillian White gives Fury serious problems, not even close. White destroys him. Think Chisora would win the rematch against Fury as well. Luke Baker has nominated him for that one. Cocaine Dawkins has nominated Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. showing some bag work. Danny Jacobs is in big trouble, says Cocaine. Chavez's bag work wasn't the greatest, it's fair to say. Boxing Boy 84 has nominated Reese Ashdown. Watching Dillian White on MasterChef. Can't wait for this man to be back in the ring. Best in the division. Fact. Yeah, okay then. Josh at LA It's Josh on Twitter has nominated me back in the 8th of September 2017 for some reason for saying that Avni Yildirim and Dortico will win the World Boxing Super Series. Okay, I'll take that. Not quite sure why we're going back that far, but there you go. El Rey Gitano has nominated Addicted T, talking about old Anthony... Yo.
You got nominated at the time.
Is Dillian White hiding in plain sight by being on MasterChef? What's he trying to tell us? He's cooking up a special recipe. What's going on there? Like, I'm curious to know, why is this fella on MasterChef when we're
dining with Diana Ball? Come Diana Ball with me.
Oh man.
You could have him, Lucas Brown, Alexander Povetkin. Who else could you have in?
Princess
Tyson
Diana
Fury.
Ball.
They could all go around each other's houses for Come Diana Ball with me. Oh god. Sorry, Andy. What were you going to say? You going to jump in there, Andy? Or are you just enjoying the madness?
Say again, mate. I missed that.
Sorry, I thought you'd unmuted to try and reveal some wisdom.
No, I'd actually just unmuted and left my desk. Sorry.
No problem. Back with
I
us.
missed
That's
something.
good to hear. No, you didn't miss anything at all. We're just going through the belly of the week, Andy. In fact, you might like this next one. Ted Barrett has nominated Jake Wood on the Pound for Pound podcast for saying that KSI and Logan Paul are British title level. Could you see them wearing a Lonsdale belt?
No, and it's an insult to the memory of those that have passed before us that have held that belt. An absolute fucking insult. Just remember, these guys have just recently been given the professional license, so we didn't even know what fucking level that they're at professionally. I would love to see. I forget. I didn't even know.
Yeah,
what weight
I'm like that with Andy. I'm fucking American, so I think that distinction of being a British level talent is lost on a lot of folks over here, and the Lonsdale belts and so on and so forth. That's fucking the stupidest thing I've heard somebody say in a bit.
Gabe's not happy. Respect the Lonsdale belt, says respected Texas contributor. Good to have you back, Gabe. Moving on. Carlos has nominated Paul Hughes. Tony Bellew,
that's what I
mate.
was gonna say. I mean, sorry, mate, but no, honestly, what weight are these guys? Seriously, what weight are they? Because if you're saying at the British level, then tell me what weight they are, and then we can look at the British champion just now, and we can then decide if we can fucking beat him or not.
I don't know, actually. I'm going to look that up right now. Let's see what weight they are. So it's
Anybody in the chat,
KSI.
let us know.
I think they're like 160
Yeah.
or something, aren't they?
Not seeing it here. Let's have a look.
Some in the chat saying it must be super middleweight. So super middleweight.
super middleweight.
So what's that, John Ryder? No. Fucking John Ryder would absolutely fucking. John Ryder would bend him over, by the way. We didn't need to ask for permission to penetrate him.
Maybe you get Conor Benn versus KSI. Or Nigel Benn versus KSI, super middleweight. There you go.
I mean, come on.
Nigel Benn beat the shit out of the two of them now, as absurd as his comeback is.
Seriously, British level. This is what I'm talking about. I mean, say it's light heavyweight. Who's the Brit? Is it Joshua Boazzi?
It's cruiserweight.
Cruiserweight.
Oh, here, look, they're 86 kilograms, which is 190. So yeah, it's
Can you
Right,
cruiserweight.
okay. O'Coley. Seriously, you're gonna
Patrick
look.
Lawrence Okoli.
Or Matty Askin, if he was still fighting. Stevie Simmons.
Tommy
guys,
McCarthy beat the two of them.
Stevie Lavelle. Fucking hell.
Tony Conquest. Oh, well, hang on a minute now. Let's not get carried away.
Afalabi.
What? Oval McKenzie.
Enzo Marcanelli.
it's an insult to say that these guys would go out and win a British title.
You know that the Bomber would be coming back because he just wants to stay out of the limelight. There's no way he's going to appear on YouTube pay-per-view event.
Fucking outrageous, man.
Just leave him alone. Just leave him alone.
So I'm going down the rankings now. Okoli, Dion Juma, Richard Riatpori, Tommy McCarthy, Mikael Lawal, Chris Billum-Smith, Nick Parker, Tony Conquest, Isaac Chamberlain, Luke Watkins. They won't have a sniff at beating any of these at all.
And these are guys who have actually been in the pro ring for what, good minimum 5 years. Pros. Yeah. That's before we even get into the amateur ranks. Before what they've done there.
I would take Elvis Doob, who is 8-77. Beat these two. I would. Seriously, I would. He can come back. He can.
Is this fucking outrageous?
I heard his last opponent was all shook up.
There used to be a boxer called Elvis Parsley. Do you remember him?
Aye.
I'm sure there was. Let me check this out now. Elvis Parsley, boxer. It's all gone to shit tonight, but forget. We'll just go with it, shall we? Here we are. Elvis Parsley. Yeah, he was 14 wins, 11 losses, and 1. He was from Blockswich in the West Midlands. Shout out. Retired in 1998.
See, to be honest, the mere fact we're still talking about this and making comparisons of British title levels against fucking two bums
his dad was on the wind up, wasn't he?
Must suggest that Jake Paul was going to win it this week. Surely, fucking idiot. Fucking outrageous, as I says, man.
Looks like he could be. We want to leave Tony Bellew alone, but he's been nominated for the next one. Carlos has nominated Paul Hughes, talking about Tony. Tony, mate, I watched the Usyk fight again. Honestly, think you could have beaten him. For a long while you were schooling him. Maybe I think you showed him too much respect. I think I might have read that one out last week, but anyway, we'll move on. What about this one, Andy? Marcus Bellinger has nominated Mauricio Suleiman. Brutal and criminal to allow a professional boxer, Jalalov from Russia with 6-0 as a pro to fight an outclassed, outweighed and far smaller USA 20-year-old amateur. AIBA World Championship in Russia. Jalalov is scheduled for his 7th pro fight in 11 days in USA. Bellew of the Week, says Marcus, on so many levels. Not only is what's going on in the ring a Bellew of the Week, but the fact that Mauricio Suleiman is the new moral compass of all boxing fans.
Yeah, what a prick, eh? Seriously, what a prick. I mean, does somebody no need to just point them in the direction of an Eddie Hearn or a Frank Warren card from time to time, by the way? Just look at the fucking mismatches you get, and all the absolute dog shit that gets dragged in for the pro ranks for, like, say, Eastern Europe to serve up as fucking professional fodder. I mean, come on, Mauricio, man, you fucking know the score. You know how these records get padded. I mean, fucking, where was this moral compass years when, you know, I'm That Ring Wrong and Hassan and Dam got fucking pulled in the last Olympics, and they were pros coming back down in level, so to speak. You know, just take your fucking opinions and fuck off. But if you've got any sway in the sport, you should have fucking turned around and got that, you know, that made a no contest. Jalalov, by the way, okay, it was a brutal knockout, but didn't he fucking tell me that just because he's fought 6 pro fights and that he's come in and he's iced that amateur fighter and stuff like that. It happens in gyms up and down the fucking country, this country, across the world, Mexico. There's fucking poor bastards getting dragged in. Go listen to Trish Dixon's podcast, the you call him Adam Harper, talking about that fight in Australia had with Michael Zarafa, and the fighters got pulled in for that card. Fucking cattle, man, absolute cattle fodder. That's what it was. So don't fucking give us this pish that you're concerned about these fights and stuff. You're not concerned. Shut the fuck up. Just quit making belts. Take your fucking paychecks when you get them from time to time, and make sure your fucking fighters do your VADA test. Other than that, shut the fuck up.
He's probably just gutted he didn't get a belt on the line. The WBC mismatch belt.
Aye. Give him time, mate. He'll maybe create it.
Absolutely. Ben Thorne's nominated Malik Scott and his bird for Bellew of the Week over on Instagram. I don't even want to describe it. You want to go over and see what's going on there. It's quite the scene. A friend of the pod, Dominic Henry, shout out, haven't heard from Dominic in a while, nominated Sky for putting on Boxing Gold. Bellew versus BJ Flores, a chance to relive some classic boxing. Tony Bellew defends his WBC Cruiserweight title against American BJ Flores in Liverpool in October 2016. Boxing Gold, everybody. Get on it. Sam at Against the Ropes has nominated Clarissa Shields. If I died today, everyone would yell she was the greatest, but since I'm here, they won't say it. No, Clarissa, I won't. Porky's Corner has nominated Anthony Fowler for liking particular tweets. Gabe, I'll come to you on that one in a minute. Sam Dorset has nominated G. Wade for saying that Kovalev is a bum. Harold Anand has nominated Max Whitlock at No Context Hearn. My missus wants me to block you because I'm up till 3 in the morning pissing myself at this page. I just can't help it. The backlash would make me horny, as the main man would say, at Eddie Hearn. Harold Anand nominated him for that one. Dave Knight was talking about Prince Patel, already gone through that. Chad Hogan, one of his many ones, has nominated Conor McAndrew for talking about Eddie Hearn. Nobody rivals Eddie John. I know he has a massive ego and loves the money, but he gives the fights to the fans that we all want to see. Chad has also nominated Iseult Cody, haven't heard from her in a while. Prepare for me inflicting $1 million Crawler bill, singing on the world for the foreseeable future. She's booked her tickets to the Anthony Crawler show, Dublin to Manchester. She even screenshotted it, Rob. Get down there with Iseult Cody. She's jumping on the plane, you could be with her.
Will. Nah, I watched that on a Saturday night, man. No chance. Absolutely no chance. Rock and roller, Crawler, and Iseult. They could have that intimate moment themselves, man. They don't want me there spoiling the vibe.
Absolutely not. No easy jet for Rob. Chad has also nominated Stevie Tab Lambert.
Ryanair like Protty.
Can't remember what he was on about now. And also the final one, obviously, the Concrete Jungle put this up. Absolute scumbag. Gary Russell Jr. threatening Leo Santa Cruz's dad after calling out Leo, saying he could have put his dad to sleep. #boxing. Yeah, that's more of a wanker of the week.
By the way.
Yeah, that was nasty. That was. I didn't think he had it in him, Russell. I don't know. I never thought he was like that.
Nah, he's not got it in him because you know why? See the way he was doing it. See that wee kind of baby fucking whisper he was doing. The wee sly, quiet way he was talking. They didn't want any cunt to hear him because they know they got ironed right out on the spot. By the way, what a prick!
See what he do that to Lomachenko's dad. Fucking dickhead. Fucking dickhead. That was absolute disgrace to the sport. Fellas like that. Why did he go looking for Lomachenko for the rematch? Go up and fight him. He said it was close and all this. He needs to see him again. Every post-fight interview he's talking about Lomachenko. Go fucking see him. Go front him up. You fucking put your arm around an old man for like. Fastest hands in boxing with the baby voice. Oh, I could have put hands on him. I could have put hands on your father. Leo, come see me. I hope Leo Santa Cruz does take the fight and beats the fucking shit out of him for that one. Like, we might see Leo Santa Cruz, who's clearly only motivated by money. We might actually see him get motivated by something personal, go in and put the fucking beat down on Gary Russell Jr., the fucking prick.
I think he'll take that really personally, and I know it's a stupid thing to say because it's his dad, but him and his dad are really close because, you know, in the past yourself, Rob, you know, he didn't want to fight. But exactly, I know he wouldn't fight because his old man wasn't in the corner. Mm-hmm.
See if someone puts a fucking hand around your old man like that in a fucking, with a camera in his face, and the man just had dignity, he just got up and walked away, like. He's lucky he fucking got out of there. He's an absolute prick for that, like, absolute dickhead.
Yeah, that was bad. Definite front runner for Gary Russell. Also, Jake Wood on a lighter side. Him talking about them two Egypts being British level. Gabe, I think you had one to throw in as well.
Yes. So, I know we've got a lot of loyal listeners out there. Got a lot of people that love you, Steve. All time. Great podcast host. A lot of people love Andy. So on and so forth, the rest of the guys. But we have a gentleman who has spent, these days he'll never get back, 31 fucking days of his life listening to the Nuthouse podcast. Toby Hines, Value of the Week. He's listened to all 340 episodes and has calculated that he has spent 31 days, 1 month of his life listening to this show. So that is the nomination of the week. All the others should be brushed aside. Toby Hines.
Best month of his life.
It's probably more than that though, Gabe, isn't it? If you include all the midweek specials that weren't numbered.
The punches for the past episodes and stuff.
Oh.
We're getting in a month and 2 weeks there. He's loving it.
Yeah, 6 weeks. Absolutely. Toby Hines, yeah, good job. He's a good lad, Toby. He texts from time to time. He's not afraid to tell us when we're talking shit too, and I think he did a bit in the sport himself back in the day, so yeah. Donnie, any nominations from you?
No, but I actually heard that his name used to be Kunta Kinte, but after he listened to all 340 episodes, he accepted Toby.
You're fucking awful.
Fuck's sake, Donny.
Jesus Christ, Donny.
Yeah. Tosh in the chat says a bit harsh, if you ask me, Gabe, but the Bellew of the Week sometimes is not just for taking the piss out of people, but it's also going to be an honorary award. So we're happy with Toby in this instance. So he might win it in a good way. Any from you, Rob? You usually have something decent to throw in for us.
Yeah, I just had Ryan Garcia just following on there for what Gabe tore the shreds last week, but I actually saw the footage, and this little shithead.
He's getting iced the second he goes up by. I can't wait for this one to get
plays. Andy, would you believe it? Like, plays out his fucking negotiation of his contract on a fight hype video. Yeah. Has a little press conference in a room. Starts giving his side of the story.
Like, I thought we were lads to the very end and all that sort of like. Shut the fuck up, you cokehead, man.
Yeah, and it's this little dickhead though, like with this high inflated opinion of himself. Now I kind of know what he's doing because I was going to have me over in the States to do this TV show years ago, and they were saying to me like, you have to do a song that's kind of Spanish because the people with the biggest disposable income are Latin females aged 18 to 30 or whatever. So Garcia is obviously smart. He's tapped into this market, which is great. But the only reason we fucking heard of Ryan Garcia is because of Golden Boy. Like, it's not because of anything he's done by himself. Same with Canelo. Canelo was bitching about Oscar, but fucking Golden Boy managed his career perfectly to put him in the position to be the highest paid athlete in the sport. He owes everything to Golden Boy as far as I'm concerned. They were the ones putting him on the Floyd undercards years ago, getting his red hair visible on a global stage, like, and getting people wide to him. So who the fuck are Canelo and Ryan Garcia to be fucking publicly negotiating fucking contracts? A fighter who hasn't even won a world title. Now what happens? Oscar gives him the bag, goes and fucking secures the most lucrative deal. That shit should have been done behind closed doors. Who the fuck is Ryan Garcia to be fucking playing his negotiations out in public? He hasn't even fucking challenged for a world title. So what, he puts a few big fat ass Latina asses in seats. That doesn't mean he has to look like he's top boy all of a sudden. Well, he might be in many respects, but not in the fucking way that it counts in the ring. So who the fuck do the two of them think they are? Like, if it wasn't for Golden Boy, they'd be nowhere. Like,
talking about voluptuous Latino asses, by the way, Rob. What about that fucking Malik Scott's bird? It's a whole lot of women, baby. Oh, it's a whole lot of women.
No, I've never seen it. Well, I'm definitely going to check it out. The woman came back from that fucking Hustlers movie with J-Lo and Cardi B in it. And she said how she went with her mates. I said, what was it like? She was like, nah, it was rubbish, really. Like, I went to work then, and two birds were like, I heard J-Lo's going to get an Oscar. I loved it. She just didn't want me to see the big fat Latina asses on the big screen. The joke is on her. I'm gonna watch that. But yeah, Ryan Garcia and then Eddie Hearn for fucking setting Bob Arum off and saying Bob Arum has shit banter and all. He's an old school promoter. You're fucking golden, the man. Like, you're calling him two-faced on every interview that you can possibly do. Bob Arum is a fucking legend. He's going to go down a legend in the sport, and you'll never be on Bob Arum's level. Never.
We've had a late nomination coming for Ben Davidson for retweeting a no context Ben Davidson account apparently that he's running. This is the latest thing now. We need to get you in on that. No context for Kelly.
No context. Jesus Christ. Don't even put ideas in any of their heads, because with some fucking bizarre listeners, don't put it out there. The fucking what? No context, Hearn, and he's loving it. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not running that himself. Oh,
Sky Sports boxing Twitter account was actually fucking tweeting them like content videos and shit.
Someone must be behind it from an entity, I think, mustn't they?
It's probably the bird that makes the tea that he always talks down to in the videos. What's her name?
It's just something to fucking boost the ego a bit, you know.
No context, Porky. We need to get that started.
Yeah, I'm down with that. That's something I want.
The actual thoughts some kind of actually going out the road to actually go mimic you on Twitter, and it's just, you're like, fuck off. You just go get your hole. Fuck's sake, man.
But he loves it. He's loving it.
Hell. I know he loves it, but he needs to get his hole. You know. Fucking hell.
Knock one out in your pants.
Your mother's basement.
What a fucking pig.
Right, Ozzy, get out from under the Transformers duvet and tell us what your nominations are, sir. Anything for us, Oz?
Maybe it's a Masters of the Universe one, like Father Dougal.
Oh, sorry. No, I haven't about this week.
Come on, I've got a couple.
Go on then, Andrew.
Right, first one, what is it? Did anybody catch Mark Kriegel interviewing on Adrian Broner? Please tell me you did. Right, so basically...
No. Oh, yeah.
Did you catch it, Rob? Go and explain it honestly. Fuck Christ, brother.
So basically, Kriegel, I think this clip only kind of went viral this week. I think it was from an interview maybe in the fight before Pacquiao. So he was like, so how do you rate your legacy? And he was like, well, I think be a 4-time world champion. And he's like, well, that's nothing. Really, you want to be seen as the successor to Floyd. And Broner stops him and was like, hold on.
See, guys like you.
Guys like you talking down on fighters saying winning for, that's not nothing, that's everything. So like it was the one time Broner actually came off speaking sense to show you how much of a cunt fucking Kriegel sounds like when he's chastising fighters about winning 4 world titles. Like, whatever you say about Broner, at 35, everyone thought he was the real deal. Everybody, you couldn't tell me anybody didn't think that he was fucking gonna. It was only when he went up and fought Malnazi that he started to get exposed. Like, but he's always been a cretin. But at the same time, Mark Kriegel diminishing, fucking beating up Antonio DeMarco and all. Like, who the fuck is he? Like, Jesus Christ.
It was brilliant because you just see the camera goes into Kriegel's face and stuff like that, and you can see him as like, is that moment you just knew you fucked up, you're getting roasted, and you need to accept it. It was a beautiful moment actually, and it was, as I says, I didn't give Broner like much credit, like, and as I says, like, and like how to be a proper dickhead stakes and stuff like that. Even like the Santa Cruz situation with Gary Russell and that, even Broner couldn't pull that shit off. But the other one was need to go to Abel Sanchez. I watched a bit of his interview last night about Golovkin's next fight and Kovalev. So he's basically saying that Golovkin, when he came to me, basically he had heavy hands. He wasn't really a devastating puncher. He just didn't know how to put it all together, right? the same fucking sentence went on to say when they took on Sergey Kovalev. He had 8 straight knockouts, so he was fucking basically taking credit for the fact that when Kovalev came to him after, like, I think he drew with Daniel Boone at the time, they had 8 straight knockouts, and then when Golovkin appeared in the fucking gym, he fucking ran Kovalev at the gym. I'm like, what a bitter bastard! Pure bitterness,
He's a banger, isn't he?
Holy
He's
fuck.
a banger, Sanchez.
He was fucking bitter as fuck, honestly Christ. Golovkin doesn't know how to put it all together, are you fucking kidding me?
Does anyone else hate this?
Sanchez is just trolling though, isn't he, Rob? He must just be trolling because he doesn't need the money. He's made like millions from construction. Apparently.
I think he's bitter. No, I think he's bitter over that money. Like, he wanted to park that as his own deal. That's really fucking cutting him up. Like, because he is. I mean, in many respects, he's right. He obviously, Golovkin was a high level amateur, and he has something to work with there. But he definitely, they had a good relationship and it worked. Like, but does anyone else hate this new version of Golovkin with the fucking blazers and everything and the sunglasses? I don't know, like, it's two sketchy enough performances. Well, one sketchy performance.
Did you say he looked like Sue Pollard?
Yeah, Heidi. I just fucking don't like it. I don't know. I feel for him that he didn't get the nod in the first Canelo fight, really. But other than that, I just don't like this new version of Canelo without Abel Sanchez. I thought he stuck him, like, he definitely stuck him up when he got the big paycheck. He was like, fuck you, I'm out of here. But maybe, in retrospect, looking back at the second Golovkin fight, he wasn't giving Golovkin great instructions. He wasn't telling him at the right times to make the adjustments, and letting Canelo get away with it. Like, he didn't come on until late. So maybe Golovkin felt the way about that. But definitely Abel Sanchez at every opportunity is going to get a pop back Golovkin. You watch it.
There we go. Then Abel Sanchez is the last nomination.
Sorry.
Whoa.
I had a late one.
Yes.
The Crusher Kovalev was on fucking Radio Raheem during the week, and he was definitely on the piss, the fucker. He was slurring his words and everything. He's all laughy, jokey, and as well as that, he must have been still at the piss when they fucking announced the fight, because he's there taking a selfie with Canelo and shaking his hand. All right, definitely not checked out in his head. Then Kovalev, he's on the piss and he's taking fucking selfies with Canelo.
He's been snorting the vodka, looking for Michelle Joy Phelps to make sex to him, aye.
Yes.
Get him and Pulev in a room together. Could you imagine after a few drinks?
Fucking hell, yeah. That's what you want. But lads on tour.
Virgil Ortiz driving them home. No, not Virgil Ortiz. What do you call the other one? Victor Ortiz. Sorry, Virgil. Wasn't meaning to accuse you of anything.
Victor Ortiz, like, hurry up, lads, I have to get the Dance with the Stars.
I've got a pick-up to make at 10.
But the Crusher, like, fucking hell, who would have thought the Crusher, again, boxing's gone bizarre, who would have thought the Crusher would be all smiley and jokey with Canelo as they fucking signed to fight in 2019 and everyone's taking a picture with him.
Well, 10 million reasons to fucking smile. 10 million reasons to smile about. He's just got pensioned off. He's got pensioned off. Can you imagine it?
And he loves the money too. Remember when he beat Hopkins? He was so happy, man. He was like, "Oh, the big money's coming out!" Like, he was like, "Yes, loading up the trucks with."
He's made some shit money. Kovalev has in his career, you know. Apparently, he has all these advisors, doesn't he, floating about taking percentages off him.
He doesn't seem like the sharpest knife in the drawer. Not that I tell him that.
They've got another 10% coming out fucking shortly.
Yeah, why should we having a party?
Right, I just noticed it's 20 to 11. We better get a move on here. We're actually close to using up the daily time limit. Okay, so I'm going to go for Jake Wood then for saying those two numpties at British title level. Who are you going for, Andy? Same one, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep, Jake Wood. Rob, what about you?
Gary Russell Jr.
Yep, strong nomination for him. Gabe, who are you going for this week?
I gotta give it to Toby.
Toby Hines. Donny?
I'll go with Gary Russell Jr.
Yeah, Gary Russell is a knob, isn't he? Ozzy, fine. It could go down to you. We've got 2 for Gary Russell, 2 for Jake Wood. What do you reckon?
The maggot Jake Wood.
The maggot Jake Wood. Flying in there with 3 nominations. Congratulations for saying that, KSI and the other fella. What do you call him again?
Logan Paul.
Who's he fighting?
Paul.
Logan
Paul
Paul.
Hogan.
Saying their British title. Gary Logan for saying they're the British title level. Congratulations, Jake Wood, from the Pound for Pound podcast. You are the Bellew of the week. Let us finish up then, everybody. Thank you for the boys for joining us. Solid one tonight, 2 hours and 3/4 we've been getting on for you. Gabe Lewis was here, Andy Patterson was here as well. Rapping Rob Kelly, Donny Baseball and Ozzy Smith. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again, same time, same place next week. Bye.
Patreon.